And we are live. Yes, we are late, but we are live. We are talking about something that happened this week. I will start by saying I am multi-topic talk, and I do think Spain lost its mind. I am a Canadian, and this is my perspective, and we have a fellow American here, the Dragon, and we will react to a lot of different videos. We have four videos we shall talk about, and we will also have a few article if the Dragon still has the article at ends, and I'm looking forward for that very interesting discussion. So let's get into the first video of tonight. Let's get into it. There we
Yesterday,
go.
we're all minding our own business. We're doing our own thing. We don't know what's going on. Then all of a sudden, a video goes viral in Spain. And no matter how much you're scrolling through X or Instagram, you keep seeing it. One clip after another clip after another clip. Can you go to the first one of them coming through the water, the ocean? So, Ceuta, which is a Spain city, I want to say, in the northern part of Morocco, and the separation between Spain and this city, Ceuta, on northern part of Morocco is Gibraltar, which is a very important place. And all of a sudden, you see this clip right here. Yeah, play this clip.
back.
Go back a little bit to see this clip.
Look.
This is all Spain. Okay, this has all happened within 24 hours
Dude.
of.
It's crazy. And I heard takes about that truck that I paused on. And I will also say this. Again, that's what I heard. I don't know how much of that is true. Maybe it's actually brain rot. So I will just put it out there because I heard about that. Apparently, some of the countries that decide to drop these people actually decided to empty their prison to drop prisoner and criminals because they wanted to get rid of the rotten core of their population. And just looking at the chaos that followed these dropping, I wouldn't be surprised that this is actually the truth and this is actually what's going on. Because I heard so many stories, I've seen so many clips of people throwing rocks at each other, running with machetes and sticks and hitting each other and like having fights in the street. I've also seen building burning, boss burning, and it's the chaos. So when I hear that the truck you see right now is dropping former inmates, I'm not surprised. I would be gullible enough to believe that because they act like animals once they are dropped, and it's crazy. So the dragon is back, I think. Any thoughts on what I just said in the last few minutes, Dragon, if you are with us? So I guess the dragon is not entirely back. So let's continue. So far, I do think the introduction of what's going on is quite informative and quite interesting. So let's get into the rest of that
People coming
video.
across. And by the way, when you look at this, you don't see families, you don't see husband and wife and kids. A lot.
This is facts. Look at that. Only men. And here's the common take that a lot of people do spread. Women would be scared. They would be scared to get essayed, to be attacked and harassed, to die in the process. That's why there's no woman. And you know why there's no kids? It's because a lot of these guys are probably single. They probably didn't have a mate, so they probably don't have kids either. That's why we don't see kids. And usually when you see kids, you also see the ladies. So usually they come in pack. But no, what they got, Spain, is all of the young men. And just imagine the uprising. Just imagine the uprising that could unfold if they decide to attack the government. And because it's far left policies that rule that country, they may simply give the reign to these people because they're foreigner. That's how the left thinks. The left thinks no whites should be in power, only minorities that were persecuted over the years. It's crazy, but it's what the left has become over the years, not cases. Let's continue now.
Of young men. So some are saying these were criminals that they let out, and a lot of these guys were coming through. And all of a sudden, one guy's being interviewed saying, "What are you doing here?" I don't know if you have this clip. Here's one guy that's being interviewed saying, "Why did you come out here?" Look of his breakdown of why he left Morocco to go to Ceuta in Spain. Watch what he had to say. Go ahead. We can't hear it, by the way, just so you guys know. Guys, we can't hear any of it. The whole audio, everything, we can't hear any of it.
Can't hear the clip.
I'm glitching,
Connor, Jake,
folks.
can you guys hear us in the back?
I froze.
Oh, there's no audio?
No, there is audio. These videos have audio. They're all over the place with audio.
What's going on? I just don't see it.
Okay, we'll give it to you guys for you guys
You
to
know,
find.
you know what this guy's saying, Pat?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's
say
like,
it.
why'd you come here? Why are you coming here? He's like, yeah, you know what? There was a murder that I was, implicated in, and I just had to get away because, I'm just trying to get out of there and try a new beginning. So you're wanted for murder, and you left the freaking country that you're from, and that's what the hell and this video right here, Pat. They're breaking into people's homes. They're literally breaking into people's homes. And there was one video of a lady. We want to talk about suicidal empathy.
Yep.
Jeff, she's standing there on this bridge. Tommy, 10,000 people are running by. She's recording and going, come on in. And it's absolutely insane. And it drives me crazy, Pat. And Tom made a great point, Pat, if you mind me talking about. We do a lot of events. You just talked about the event that we had here yesterday, networking. We do the Yankees one. We do we do all this. And I realize I see behind the scenes, Tom, what it takes, the planning, the logistics. So my question is, and you brought it up today, who planned all this? This doesn't just randomly happen where 50,000 military-age men, Tommy, wake up and they go, you know what? Let's go to see you. Let's just go
on
there.
your mark, get set, go. So who called the play?
So that's what I wanted to ask you.
It wasn't just a random flash mob?
No, yeah. So Tom, my question to you is, when you see something like this, Tom, and I know we always talk about, the powers that be and the globalists, what makes this happen and who makes the call? Who does this?
Well, I have an opinion. I think, Jeff, you always have an opinion too. But when you see something like this, you just
lose all hopes, folks. It is what it is. People are kind of crazy now. Because I glitched out. There's no cam. So are you back, Dragon?
Yes.
Okay. So I will quit and come back. So continue the commentary. But basically, they were saying the exact same thing I said. Apparently, a lot of these folks are former criminals. And they just emptied their jail to unleash the criminal aspect.
What they're talking now, before you go, what they're talking about is like, so in the 80s, when you're familiar with the movie Scarface, it's based on the premise Castro cleared out the jails and said you can go to America. Now, I guess yes. Okay, so he has to glitch out and fix his stuff. So the history of this is because, well, I have the video, but it's okay. I don't take credit. Multi-streams it. I just
have to look past the horror of it. Now I'm horrified.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
So let me give a little history of this, and I will get into it right around before we get into the Lotus Eaters. I'll get into the part which is the second part, because in America we saw this because it was like Thursday. It hit Twitter because I've been more busy on Twitter because I've had another matter I've had to take care of. The idea is we saw this and it kept coming up in video after video. Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going to ignore it. So, brief history, and what you're going to see, there is two kinds of takes that you're going to have. You're going to have the Western take of the American take, probably the liberal American take, the conservative American take, and you're going to have the European take.
And the Canadian take here will be
so here's how this works. A lot of what you're finding, Fox News reacted because trying to find good video for this is I prefer. Like if I need to go anything on Europe, I go to Europe. Like I'll go to my European sources and see if anybody says anything. That's usually Lotus Eaters or someone adjacent to them. Now, American take was, it's a bunch of migrants flooding the border. I was telling Multi before we started, So back when, the infamous photo of the child in a cage that they blamed on Trump was actually under Obama when they had to hold people in overflow. It was like literally like a vet thing, but it's like, but you got to understand, this is very different. The Supreme Court basically for about a decade to about 20 years, Europe has been using North African labor, meaning Libya, all those nations along there, as cheap labor. Now,
Amazing. That will
in
turn out great.
in Europe, they treat them as second class citizens. Now, a little bit earlier history on Spain, which is playing now out again, is Multi. Are you familiar with the southern half of Spain? The Spanish Moors, did they teach you that in school?
No, I have no idea.
So I kind of wish that Lotus Eaters brought this up because you would think Sargon would know this, but he doesn't. The problem is, so for a period when Muslims came to rise, the closest they got to Europe was half of Spain. And it's called the Spanish Moors. Muslims invaded it and they ruled half of Spain for a period. So ever since then, Europe kind of became Christendom or Catholicdom, surrounded by Turkey to the other side, which, aka the Ottomans, after the fall of the Byzantines. Now, the trick about this is the Supreme Court, basically, Spain has been being ruled by socialists mainly, and very much the other half is a bunch of liberal parties. We're talking European liberals, the same ones that allowed unfettered immigration.
Well, I'm not surprised.
So the issue is, I was telling Multi, there's been a lot of cases with Spain where they had a person charged with SA of a minor. Basically, he got no jail time recently this year. And it's really messed up over there because the migrants get more rights than the citizens. It's been this way in France because of the yellow vest riots have been going on for like off and on for like 3 years, 4 years. So you're looking at like Germany just sweeps it underneath the rug. Recently, there was the trial where the man was convicted of peacefully ramming the car to kill his wife, who he felt was unfaithful.
Peacefully? Are you kidding me?
They didn't even say it was a Muslim
Are
man.
you kidding me?
They
I
said
knew they lost the plot. I knew they went crazy.
I'm going to go
But
find.
it
I
just
can find
doesn't
that
work
story.
like that. You don't
I
run
got
through someone peacefully.
so this Muslim
Wow.
man in Germany. There's been a lot of these where in Germany they basically call it a. They said a crazy man drove a car into a building, not naming what the man was. So Europe's had this really bad problem. Spain is very much more on the super liberal side of everything, but they've been being ruled by socialists. So with this setting in place, the Supreme Court said people who came in to Spain or Spanish territory by boat cannot be deported. Now, this caused a bunch of young men come up, about 48 or 49,000 of them swim up to the thing and go into a town of Cata, Spain. It's an island in between the Strait of Gibraltar and its Spanish-controlled territory, between that and Morocco. Now, this population only is 85,600. It's a small island. Then eventually the Spanish military, after 24 hours, brought the military in, and then they blocked off some of the access. Some people were still getting in. Now, the lesson in what the West is seeing, it's very weird. Americans see a mass flow of migrants. I don't know what they're seeing in Canada. Multi will describe it. The issue is
We got Toronto that's turned into a brown city.
basically this is the actual like stuff about it. The problem is in Fox News says it's basically the liberal policies. They want open borders. This is a consequence of open borders. They are correct on that. Right
And
now,
it's hilarious, Dragon, because in Canada we got a bunch of fake asylum seeker and they all get approved. So we know they're not here on valid ground, yet we still want them. And we have like housing crisis, we have workforce crisis, we have crisis in every single sectors. Like people are losing their job left and right, and people cannot afford like a roof, and yet we still accept a bunch of people.
So,
cheap
and
labor.
the thing is, when they're going into Indians and Muslims are flooding into the UK. Now, this is where when I'm going to bring this up, where it's not all Muslims are bad. Islamists are bad.
The 1% that's bad make all of the
It's
noise.
more than
and take all of,
1%.
what? Let me finish. They do all of the noise. They do all of the destruction, and they are enough to really give a bad reputation. So even if it's not a lot of people, that's too much. Deport.
Basically, the problem with a lot of Muslim immigrants that are coming from, that are younger, that are coming to Europe, they've been cut off by UAE and Saudi Arabia because, would you like to take why? Guess why, Multi?
Too extremist?
Ding, ding, ding. They are very much...
we get the most extremist people.
They get the most, and Canada's getting them. That's why when you're starting to see Europe going back to anti-Semitism,
that's been like that for like 6 years now.
Yeah, see, look, it's not hard to foster anti-Semitism.
It started a bit before COVID.
Look, it's very cultural to easily to fester up anti-Jewish or anti-Israel hate pretty easy. No offense. But the problem here now, as it stands, is in Europe, it's on the rise because what's on the rise on the other side for white people in our culture? Liberalism. What do liberals largely hate? Religion. Who does Christians support? Jews, because God tells people that the Jews are chosen people. Fine. Historically, sure. But the thing about this is, all of this is happening, but this immigration wave that's been hitting Europe, hitting the UK, they're not regulating their migrants because UK's migrant problem is entirely different. That's where Sargon and them talk about it. The other part of it is Patrick has the American take. He'll level it out in a second, where it's a little strange because you got to bear with it. It sounds weird because, like Tim Pool's take, it's like, oh, this is liberals, this is what they're doing. Conservatives don't want it, but like people don't know how to react when you have waves of migrants coming over. Because we had this under Biden and under Obama.
There was a nice comment Asmongold did in one of the videos I've seen from him. And he was like, start shooting people if they do that, and it will stop doing it. And I'm like, that's dead on.
I want to say something, and I want to make sure we're past the mark where YouTube isn't going to catch it. People have said turn the U.S. border, build a wall, or turn it into the DMZ. Multi, if you know what that is.
I have no idea.
Okay. Either militarize our border and potentially put the DMZ is the military zone that divides North and South Korea with a bunch of landmines.
Oh, I like it. You know what? Do that with
There's a
Canada.
point, and it's like monitored, like that little fence between North and South Korea. Yeah,
We need to do that.
people have
Like you
talked
guys in
about
the
that
USA,
jokingly.
you guys in the USA need that because Canada
Um,
is becoming a threat for you.
So, jokes aside, but I live in Texas, right? What you're gonna hear a lot when it comes
I feel
to,
like the Mexican border is not as dangerous as the Canadian border.
you should see it, Multi. The look of my so here, let me give you a detail. What they don't say about immigration in the US is we have cartels that so there's violent sections of the southern border. Our border patrol gets shot at. Like you know where southeast Texas is on a map, where it goes from south border, the Rio Grande goes up towards El Paso.
Yeah.
When you go to where we grow crops, which is in southern Texas, there's areas of there that are like very violent and very where cartel members take pot shots. Now it's one of those things where
I feel safer there because I feel like if you step out of line, you get shot. Here in
but the
Canada,
problem
if you step out of line, they give you a cookie in the middle.
so
The
here's
middle.
where it gets weird. When you get into parts, they haven't fully said when you look at Arizona, it was at one point 80 miles in to America. That's how uncontrolled the border is. Now, there is parts of it where, yeah, sometimes they can just walk over and disappear. Because what people forget, what you see in Spain is very similar to what we had under. Basically, I have to go back and look at the years because Biden hadn't appointed judges to deal with asylum cases. Alone, we had 3 to 4 million outstanding Venezuelan cases. They say on average we have possibly 11 million illegal immigrants, maybe 15 living in the US. I've called bullshit on that on many years because one of the leading largest influx we had in over a period was Venezuelans.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
And
socialism
one
is
of the
bad.
cases and what the Biden administration did. Do you remember when we started having really bad hurricanes
Yeah.
and then there was no money in FEMA?
Yeah.
And they were using the FEMA funds to put them in hotels and places. This is when the Salvadorian gangs tried to take over towns in Colorado
Wow.
or like a
Exemplary
hotel.
people. We need more
New
like these.
York's. They brought a bunch of the Venezuelans to New York, and there was a big Venezuelan gang problem. So you're looking at when people say there's going to be amnesty programs, people rush the borders. This is why when Trump has said he has halted any further immigration courts, the immigration is at an all-time low. Now,
I'm not surprised.
H-1B visas going to Indians and Asians who are underqualified. Blame that on Silicon Valley. But that's
funny.
a separate matter entirely.
So now I see time flies. Let's play more of that. Now.
To see what's happening to the poor citizens that are there that had. Remember, this is part of Spain that is across the Strait of Gibraltar. You think the Straits of Hormuz are skinny, you should go see films of the Straits of Gibraltar. It's across from the South Peaks of Gibraltar in Africa. It's a small little part of Spain, Ceuta, which is there. But when I see everybody organize, I look at the horror and I say, my gosh. The second thought I say, okay, what triggered this? What's going on? Why did everybody show up with the black hoodies and the
It's always a good question, and this is when you really get intellectual. Hopefully they answer it, so let's play more of that.
bandanas and everything in Minneapolis? It was George Floyd. Yeah, but they didn't just come down to City Hall, self-gathering, and then get out of control because a speaker revved them up. We've seen that in America. We've seen people come together on college campuses.
We've seen that a lot also in Canada, so it's a common thing. So let's play more
no,
of that.
let me say this on that part. He doesn't talk about the origins. Do you know where I first heard about Antifa?
With the BLM?
I first heard of Antifa, and I've been trying to track this story down, and I have not for years because I heard it from multiple sources, and I saw it online. And I'm like, oh, this is a nothing article. It's going to be important. They started off in college campuses up. So there was a story where a organization that called themselves Antifa did some damage to some Oregon and Seattle universities, the major ones. And that was the early part of Antifa, Multi.
I'm
And
not surprised.
that was years before. And a lot of what you're seeing, and this is something that you're starting to see, and it kind of case stalled. It's going to have to be a federal case. Do you remember the ICE protests that resulted in the lady being killed, the guy being killed?
Yeah.
Okay. For people who don't know, they're using an encrypted app. You could probably still find, it's like Cam Higsby's post about it. He got into these networks. There were like whisper networks deleting that, but they're encrypted. We don't know how Antifa organizes, but they are small cells. But they organize. I mean, technically, we call them a domestic terrorist group, but Trump's been trying to get them labeled as a global terrorist group.
Because they are.
They've shown up in Berlin. They have shown up in the UK as well.
Canada, they're everywhere, man.
Well, actually, the argument is Antifa was funded by people in Canada.
Yeah, I'm sure it's true. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, we are that far left. And people are in denial. They won't accept it. They won't admit it. They only pretend.
And we don't know.
Canada pretends there's no such thing as far left, but there's far right everywhere. That's the mindset of Canada.
I would have to show you because there's a man being investigated right now. It's Neville Roy Singham. He was a tech mogul, sold his company, moved to CCP China, and he is married to one of the leaders of Code Pink. Now, you don't know who Code Pink is. I'll explain it in a nutshell. It's a liberal organization more famous during the Iraq War for throwing pink paint on people and being anti-war and a very front organization. The man is an avowed communist who uses funds from sales, possibly with the help of the Chinese now, to fund charity organizations to fund protest. He was found in, I have like a little file in a browser for basically these things before when like no one really, I first heard his name and you find it. He was suspected in the UK of riling up protests in like 23. And he is currently living in China. But right now, under Trump's federal investigation, he's being investigated.
I'm not surprised.
So it's very good. That's a lot of what he talks about in the funding. The problem is these people who organize this stuff is a very small group. Very small.
Yeah, let's play more of the video now.
gathering. You see the students are gathering, not but they weren't set up in a mob over there to come across. And then a speaker revs them up, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Well, what that's called is dynamic rioting. This was not dynamic rioting. Somebody called the play and said, all right, blue 32, razor 6, flash on 5, which meant hide behind here, gather here, go here, and then these people were on trucks. A truck was opening, a dump truck was opening there, the back
Sardines.
It looked like a military truck with a military official kind of directing people
Everybody come
off
out.
the truck. I mean, this, this was
exactly. So
planned.
I want to know who called this play.
You
Somebody
think this was planned?
Absolutely.
Yes, I absolutely.
Because the point we're making, Pat, is like when you guys have when we have events, it takes a lot. I see what Blake and Kelly and all these people are doing behind the scenes. There's no way. So, and again,
How do
this
you
goes
get thousands of people to
50,
gather at
50,000
once?
at one time.
At one time.
And Pat, I want to
not
make
random.
I want to make a quick point too, Tom. All this stuff that I'm hearing, I know I'm not pivoting, but all these people like Alex Jones.
The people organizing, again, they are most likely the government, because you spoke about cheap labor. This is exactly what's going on. And the other thing is far left. They want to erase the whites because the whites are a tumor the left wants to eradicate. And it's kind of hilarious because once the whites are gone, so do the women's rights. Because when you really look into it, a lot of these Islamists, they don't believe in women's rights. So many things they don't believe in. So if the whites vanish, the far left ideology also vanishes. Maybe some African and Asian that are not so deep into religion may adhere and still be leftist, but most of the African and Asian are still a believer and they have faith. So again, the far left ideology will die off once the whites they succeeded into self-destruction and self-sabotage. Anyway, let's continue about that coordinated effect or that coordinated attack on the country borders, because this is what it is. They organized, they made sure that border shall be destroyed and put down, which is fascinating because it's really counterintuitive. It's so stupid. If you want like your country to be civil, if you want your country to still be part of the first world and not turn into the third world, you need rules and laws. You cannot simply put down the wall the way they did. And some people may regret their set of belief after seeing all of the chaos that followed such tasks, such organization to shatter borders. So let's play more.
Everybody impeach Trump, kick him out. Do you understand that our border right now is the most secure? Because this reminded me of Biden's border during the Biden administration, wide open, suing Texas for putting barbed wire and all that stuff. And I want to remind everybody this: if you got, and I know the power shifts, Tom, in the pendulum. If you elect the next Democrat to come into power, this will, not maybe, not if, Tom, 100%, they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to say, oh, it's because, this is America, and we have to invite everybody in here. I sent Connor a clip of Joe Biden in 2015 saying that this exact thing. He's like, I want it to be a relentless flow of people, and he goes, well, I want white people. Can you play this clip? Do we have audio? This is Joe Biden.
Muslim communities, but African communities, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, and the wave still continues.
Look who's next to him.
It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop.
Look at Mayorkas' face.
As a matter of fact,
here we go.
It's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. So there's a second thing in that black box. An unrelenting stream of immigration.
They've called for it.
Non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority.
And they're probably.
I pause here because I really wanted to say that it's boiling inside of me. Joe Biden was a nutcase. Apparently he was also losing his sanity. So I look at that, I hear what he's saying. It was far left. So again, you guys had 4 years of self-sabotage and self-destruction. And I guess now Trump is trying to fix whatever the mess Biden tried to push on people. So it's just fascinating. I can't believe you folks voted that nut job there in. So let's play more of
in the
about
United
it?
States of
Biden.
America.
Proud.
Exactly.
Could you just stop it? Look at
Absolutely
Mayorkas, the rat.
Fewer than
Take the racial
50%
part
of
out
the
of it.
people.
Yeah.
The Dems wanted immigration as a path to perpetual majority at the ballot box.
Yes.
They are getting more than they bargained for. And when you say the Democrats, we need to split it in half. There are independent Democrats that are shocked that what has happened. There are independent Democrats. Listen
I'm
to what
not
Bill Maher
surprised.
said. Listen to what people that we've debated on this stage.
And as much as it's trying to buy votes, because that's a lot of the idea to have unlimited immigration, I think eventually it will backfire. You will have so much people from so many different countries that eventually, because of whites, they are so far left, they don't procreate anymore. They will be erased, and you know what will replace them? The Islamist countries, the effing Indian. Like, people will run around with effing knives because they're religious knives. We won't be the first world anymore. So again, I hear that and I'm like, I get it. Like, it will buy some votes early on when there's not enough of these people that you let in. That's true. They will vote for you because they think you they think if they keep you on, more of them will come. And eventually, when they no longer the left, rewind. When the left no longer, or I should say, when the foreigner, when the immigrants, they no longer need the left, they will eradicate the left, and now they will take power, and we will just let that happen because we are white and gullible and stupid. That's how I view things. So early on, it will get votes, it will work, but eventually they will be crushed, and what may replace the whites in civilization might not be so great. That's just a fair warning. So let's play more of that.
Here have said that that they look at it and say, wait a minute, this is communist, this is DSA, and then look at the DSA infiltration. So when you say that, Vinny, I love your passion, I agree with you, but remember to split that there is a cancer forming inside the Democrat Party, the DSA,
but also,
and his comment.
And that same cancer can be seen in most of the far left countries. This is all we are. We self-destruct. This is all we know. This is all we do. This is all we do. So let's play more of that now.
It's here. Look like they're linked to it, but all he was looking for was ballot box majority.
100%.
And he buffooned his way into this disaster we had at the southern border.
Yeah,
it's not. Sorry, I'm just saying. This isn't just Democrat. This is, again, we're watching Spain. We're watching it happen in Europe. We're watching it happen all over the place. This is a leftist movement. It's a global.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. And again, on the short term, sure, you will get your votes. You will hold on to power, but eventually they will overthrow you. And once they overthrow you, trust me, you won't get the kind of favor you were giving to these people, because once they got to power, only violence shall be the answer. Only violence will work, and we will turn like, I don't know, Iran, that as the regime ending its own people because they dare protest the king, because this is what they have, a king. The plebe shall not discuss or fight. The plebe shall kneel before the religious and the sacred one on top of the chain. It's kind of crazy, but this is how it will go if we don't fight back. If you don't, if really, if we let that far left ideology continue spreading in every infrastructure, every institution. So sorry, sometimes my accent takes over. Let's play more of that now.
The leftist movement. That's why when people use the term globalist, we have to identify exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, no,
and it's exactly what you said. The idea here is conservative and center-leaning voters have been an impediment toward socialist takeover or socialist ideals. And so the idea was we need to import voters who will vote with us. Yep. Therefore, we can implement our
So let's go through a couple things here. So let's show the clip of the guy. I think the audio is now working, of the man that was saying he left Morocco because he was charged. Watch this clip here, folks.
Ali, ¿por qué no te quedas en Marruecos?
Why don't you stay in
¿Por
Morocco?
qué decides venir a
Why don't you
España?
decide to come to
Yo
Spain?
vine a España porque quiero cambiar la
I want
vida,
to change my
¿sabes?
life.
Tengo
I
problemas
have
a
problems in
Marruecos,
New
no
York.
quiero volver a Marruecos.
¿Qué problemas? ¿Qué problemas tienes en Marruecos? ¿Qué
Tengo
te pasa?
problemas que la gente con una colega que muerte
colleague who
no
died.
puede sentar ahí porque habla cosas no buenas para mí, ¿sabes? Puedes morir una persona y yo o la otra persona, ¿sabes? Por eso yo vine.
¿Tenías trabajo? ¿Te faltaba trabajo? ¿Tu
Ya,
familia?
yo tengo trabajo bueno, yo trabajaba.
So basically, my colleague was dead. They implicated me, so I got to get the hell out of there.
And I was
Do you really want that in your country? He's a former criminal. And let's be honest, there are two kinds of criminals. The one that will never change because this is all they knew. The ones that truly want to change. That's the two kinds. And of course, there are lots of criminals that want to change. But it's like addiction. Eventually, you may still end up collapsing and falling back. As much as some people truly want to change and they will try to do it, if it doesn't work for them, what do you think will happen? They may go back to their old ways. This is all people think. This is all people are. Again, people sometimes are just fascinating. Like, do you really want that in your country? More criminals? Like, if you were peaceful, if you have a civilization that made sense, why would you want to bring in more troublemaker? Because this is what a lot of criminals are, troublemakers. So I
Not
like that.
all, let me say this, not all migrants are bad. The problem is in the 80s, Cuban, Reagan often gets criticized for deciding to legalize about, the movie Scarface, as I mentioned to you. So Castro emptied his prison and then sent a lot of them north for us to deal with. That's what Scarface and why Miami became like a crack cocaine den, Miami Vice, that era, right? That era, like they talk about that, cigar boats, that era. That's the era, the reason why that happened, because largely a lot of them were criminals. Now, the interesting part about this is, look, PPD, or as he gets known, is a very much a conservative Iranian kind of old. That's kind of how he is commonly known to the world as. The part where it's interesting is these people aren't the best people. They're not sending their best. It's kind of like, we don't mind taking in refugees. We've done it in every crisis we've ever dealt with. We dealt with it in Vietnam. But with Mexican migrants, it's utterly a mixed bag. Half these people who go into Europe want to come to us. Europe was like, why don't you take these people in? They have no documents. The first thing they dump overboard when they get either to Greece or other parts is those passports. So the interesting part is we don't know who we're letting in. Now, the weirdest part is, let's assume they get to mainland Europe. They'll still be treated as second-class citizens. But the problem itself is interesting. See, this part here is what I ask people don't get. A lot of people don't realize that, yeah, you could probably thank Europe for destabilizing North Africa. The interesting part is, let's assume Somalis are their global export of everybody. It sounds weird, but they do it. They'll go up to Canada, go up to Europe, or wherever and go back home. But the thing about this is, I always look back at comments, but if this is true, Gaddafi, you got to bear in mind, Gaddafi was one of the cornerstone regions controllers in North Africa for a while. Now, the interesting part is they removed him and then everything else got screwed up. So, a lot of these people, as I said, they wanted cheap labor. Problem is, they treat these migrants as second-class citizens when they go to France or Germany or Italy.
So I'm back.
Like right now, by the way, the interesting part in Europe, they have when people go to vacation on the beach in Italy. I saw a video. It's like a African man, not a North Muslim, just to intimidate people at a beach. He gets to a fight. He strips off his swim shorts and gets completely nude in front of everybody.
That's very appropriate. That's
Right.
very civilized.
It's the most. It's one of the weirdest things ever.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I can see
These
it.
are the people going to Europe in certain sections.
Well, they are crazy, so they will fit in.
But you're laughing about this.
I know, because it's ridiculous. Like, how can we become that of a civilization? Like, it's turning into the third world. I'm sorry, but like, no first world country should be like that. Like, I'm sorry,
There's
but
been
no.
stories where they've had issues with like Somali or Black Africans that have gone to Europe and they just start flashing people. No reason. They can't do shit.
I'm surprised.
Europe
So
is
anyway,
like, what the fuck do we do?
let's
like-
play more of that. Apparently, that guy is a criminal that fled, and here we are.
Had a job at the beach teaching people to swim, which I assume means lifeguard or attendant.
Yeah. So the quality of people that are going there is insane. You know, we don't know what it is. There was a guy, I think it was 39 people that died on their way there, the number. And when you hear, the biggest problem here is with Pedro Sanchez. If you can pull up any clips that I've sent you of Pedro Sanchez.
I will sound rude, but these 39, I have no empathy toward them. I see all the others act, and I start to think and believe this was natural selection. And I don't care. Call me radical, whatever. I don't care. Like, I mean, there are radicals everywhere. If you defend whatever is going on in Spain, I think you are radical. So again, I think the people that died going there is natural selection. You were just not meant to go there. That's how it is. That's how I view it. So let's play more of that now.
The one where he says he disagrees with Elon Musk and he says, yeah, this is the one right here. I want you to watch this. He made this reaction to Elon Musk, I believe, and watch what he had to say. And then I want to give you some stats and concerns that he brought up. Go for it.
What's the date here, Pat?
This is recently. This is in June. This is about a month and a half ago. Go for it.
Some say we've gone too far.
This is Elon.
That we're going against the current. But I would like to ask you.
You do! Like, a bunch of you folks did pervert so much the work of the Quran. A lot of you are about domination. Well, domination, if it had a face, it would probably be one of you Islamists out there. And again, it's not all Muslims that are this way, but there's enough of these to be talked about. There's enough of these to shift the balance of power. There's enough of them to go on a rampage to take lives. There's too many of them, I'd even say. Even if it's 1 to, 5%, even if it's 5% of the Muslim folks that are this way, I'm sorry, but you are dangerous. It's not because you're a small person that it doesn't matter. It's how I view it. Let's play more of that now.
When did recognizing rights become something radical? When did empathy become something exceptional? Spain is above all.
Don't speak about empathy. Like, what's going on right now? Where's the empathy to the people that get robbed? Where's the empathy to the people that get rocks thrown at them because they are savage that just joined their country? Where's the empathy to the people that are attacked in their houses? Where's the empathy to the people that died, because apparently they even desecrated some of the cemetery and they wreaked havoc even there. Where's the empathy to all of the victims? I don't care about other countries. I only care about my people. And if I was a Spanish guy, I think after seeing that, it doesn't matter what it cost me, but I would flee that country by any means necessary, because that country has fallen. It's no longer civilized. It's dangerous. So I have no empathy whatsoever, because that kind of policies is too extreme. That kind of policies doesn't belong in a country that supposedly be a part of the first world. It doesn't match. It doesn't rewind. It doesn't match. It doesn't fit. It shouldn't be happening. So I think it's ridiculous. That speech right now is ridiculous.
Telling you.
A welcoming country. And this is the path we choose. Dignity, community, and justice.
This is dignity.
I have the exact same reaction. Like at the moment he was saying dignity, I'm like, wow, there's no dignity there. Don't speak about empathy. I think that freak there has no empathy whatsoever. He is a nutcase using empathy as a shield. It's sickening. We put people like that in power. They talk about empathy, they have none. They don't know the meaning of that. They use that word because they know the leftists, they like that word. They always throw it everywhere, but they only have empathy to other leftists or to the minorities that are slowly taking over. And let's be honest, in 10 to 20 years, they won't be minorities anymore, because we have almost open border. Like, of course, right now, if the numbers are true, the Spanish-born people are no longer the majority. They're actually the minority, because now the size of their population has doubled. And I won't be surprised if in the next few days or weeks, lots of Spanish-born people may flee that crap hole that's turned into a dumpster. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. And then you can't speak about minority if now the so-called minority is now the biggest pool of people. It's ridiculous. Let's play more of that.
Okay, so no problem. So now, when you're looking at this, these are the things he said. Spain needs to choose between being an open and prosperous country or a closed-off poor country. It's simple as that. He said that in October of 2024. Number two, he said in June 30th of 2026, without immigration, Spain would lose 19% of their GDP by 2050. How does he come up with that? Nobody knows. Here's also what argument he made. He says it'll be down GDP 22% by 2075, 90,000 bars closing, again, fear porn, 50,000 school classrooms disappearing, 220,000 farms, about one-third disappearing. He's making these claims. And FYI, do you know of the 80,000 people that they say invaded Ceuta, and let's just say the number is 49 to 60,000 migrants in a span of 24 hours. Do you know what percentage of the population that is? It's 60 to 70% of that place's population. So let me explain to you. Overnight, this population, majority Spaniards, overnight is majority, now Muslims coming from Morocco, not legal immigration.
And that's what I was saying. And now the other thing is, all of these people, they wreak havoc. Will you have enough firepower to deal with them? When they will attack someone in the street or in their house, because apparently they break into houses, what will you do to contain them? What will you do if your capacity, your police and your military is used to have, like, I don't know, 60 to 80 million people? Maybe not million, maybe 60,000 to 80,000. I think that's more accurate to the population. And now you have these numbers being doubled. So you go from 60,000 to 80,000 to 160,000. or 200,000, because let's be honest, they won't be able to have accurate numbers with such a crazy number of people just entering the country. How will you contain them? You won't be able to. And even if you had enough people to contain them, where would you place them? You don't have enough. You don't have enough jail cell for every criminal that may end up doing something wrong. You'll start deporting them. Oh wait, the crazy far leftists with empathy will tell you don't deport the criminal because he is a minority. Even if we already said that they're no longer minorities because the whites, they don't make any babies anymore. And even there, like in that specific case, in that specific country, the population has doubled. So the native are no longer the majority. They are now the minority. This is what's going on, folks. It's nuts. They won't be able to contain them. As simple as that. So there's no empathy if you cannot contain your bad elements. And even if it's just like 1 or 5% of these crazy numbers that are dangerous, even if it's a low number like that, they will do so much damage. They will destroy lives. So it's crazy. There's no empathy whatsoever. Don't lie to people. Don't gaslight them. But I guess it will be a reality check for some of the Spanish people that feel like they didn't vote for this crap and now they're dealing with it, if they're still in the country. Again, no empathy. It's insulting to use empathy in that kind of discussion right now.
Pure invasion. You see the videos. This is not like it's a regular thing. At least 34 people reportedly died during the crossing, according to the latest official estimates. And here's what the president had to say about it. Go for it.
Did you discuss it with him?
I did, briefly. He's going to have to mention it because it's killing your country.
Mr. He won't talk to you.
He's
This is why they don't like Trump.
And not him. I mean, we'll have to see. I know Starmer did very little about it. And they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from South America. They're coming from different parts of Asia. And they're invading Europe. I mean, they're invading Europe. It's an invasion. And the UK is a prime suspect.
On Todd Blanche, Senator John Cornyn of Texas.
By the way, while you're watching this, it's important while you're watching this and seeing what's going on, Italy's Meloni sends a tweet out, okay? Massive. I mean, it went viral all over the place. If you just want to go to my handle, just go to my X account and you'll be able to see it. She sends a tweet out explaining her concerns of what's going on here. A lot of people are saying they don't know if she's going to do anything or not. If you can just go to hers first, please. Thank you. The images coming from Ceuta are striking and demonstrate once again that uncontrolled illegal immigration poses a concrete threat to the security of European borders. I have spoken with Interior Minister Matteo. Italy will not stand by and watch. We are convening the relevant bodies and following these meetings. We are prepared to intervene with extraordinary measures to defend the borders and the safety of citizens, including the suspension.
Despite that speech, I already said, if you doubled your population, how will you manage to contain all of these folks? Oh, it's not possible.
Are they? You're to the point where they're talking about the Spanish president kind of doubling down on a bad policy. Basically, he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna have bad GDP growth, so bring in a bunch of migrants."
It's crazy.
And that's gonna be better. That's gonna make it a ton better, folks.
Like they will steal from people. They won't bring anything to the economy. And again, I said it several times. It's an invasion that you cannot contain. This is what's going on. And a lot of these crazy leftists in Spain, they will learn it the hard way. Once their friends, the woman especially the woman, when they will be essayed and attacked in the streets, or worse, uh, they won't like what's going on, and they may actually start hating mass immigration policies like that.
Of a Schengen area with Spain on illegal immigration, we will not yield an inch. Defending the border, stopping human traffickers, and
Stop
ensuring
lying.
effective reparations will continue to be the line of this government. Go a little bit lower. I posted a comment below, and I said, exit is your best long-term solution, period. A lot of people say, well, how did Brexit work out? Brexit didn't work out because our last 7 prime ministers are, globalists, and they're not coming from a place. But if Maloney can stand guard and stay strong and defend their great country with a rich history, they can, do something about it. I'm going to send this clip to you. I talked to Dominik Tarczynski from Poland yesterday because this was my concern. My concern, Vinny, was the following, and Tom, Jeff, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. My concern was, okay, in Europe, if you have a passport, you can automatically use that passport to go where?
EU passport.
EU passport.
Yes. The blue passport.
Of course, you can use that passport to go where?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. So now watch this. So if this is phase 1, is invasion.
Yes.
Phase 2, what do you think is the likelihood of Pedro Sanchez finding a way to make these guys legal residents in the next few years if he's able to?
He can't get rid of them.
If he does, then what happens next? So then they have passports. Then what happens to EU? Then it's not an invasion of Ceuta or Spain. This is an invasion of EU.
Yes.
This is an infiltration. So I asked Dominik Tarczynski, and I said, hey, Poland, you keep telling me you guys have the lowest unemployment, lowest rape, lowest this, lowest that. What is Poland doing about it? He says, I'll send you a clip. Watch this. This is what he said. Support illegal immigrants. Spain, Poland, bottom. Deport illegal immigrants. Lowest unemployment rate, lowest rape. Look at that for themselves on what they have going on. They deport illegal immigrants. How the hell are you going to get rid of 60 to 80,000 people that just got to the island? Go ahead and show me how you're going to do it. America tried to do when Biden let in, 10 to 20 million people? And the moment Trump tried to do it, what happened? I called this. I said,
civil unrest, chaos. And I guess this is what the elites want. They like chaos, so they can do whatever they want without scrutiny. It's fascinating. Full-blown chaos.
It is going to be such easy content for the left to use and say, look how ice cold, ICE is and Trump is, cold-hearted people, and someone's going to get killed, and ICE is going to stop. It's going to be impossible to get rid of 10, 15, 20 million people. And that's, by the way, 10, 15, 20 million people coming through is what? 3% of our population? 3% of population? Now imagine if it's 60 to 70% of your population within 24 hours. Yeah, we're going to be able to do anything about it. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Well, in America, we have every right to be concerned because this is Spain's Biden moment. I don't know if you saw what the Babylon Bee said. They said Spain turns to experienced border czar Kamala Harris for help with the migrant crisis. Because here's the reality, because essentially we're not really worried about...
It baffles me. These leftists, people are so gullible. People are stupid. Ask Trump. He is the one dealing with immigration. Kamala Harris is not even in power right now. I lost all words. I'm losing my sanity right now watching that.
Spain, we are worried about America. When we see tens of thousands of people pour through the border, we're shocked. We can't believe what's going on. How many people came through the border during Kamala's reign as the border czar? Over 10 million people. So imagine this on replay in America over and over and over again. And then he touched on it with the suicidal empathy. When Trump came down that escalator 10 years ago, and he said, Mexico, when they come from Mexico, they're not sending their best. This is what he's talking about. This is what he's talking about killing your country. And if we don't learn from this in America, we would end up like Europe. Thank God we have someone like Trump that shut down the border.
For now, again, I'm worried, but I feel like there's always pendulum shift in the USA. So maybe you will get your own Spain moment, but eventually you may have another Trump eventually. There's always that swing, but like he's right. Trump was the answer to the craziness in the out of control immigration.
Border on day one when he came into office in 2024, or else we would be potentially this leftist open border ideology here in America. So Vinny's absolutely right. You may disagree with Trump on a few different things, but thank goodness that he shut down the border, and America is way better for it.
Because, and Adam, great point. If they won, if Kamala won, and whatever cheating that they tried to do, whatever, what number would we be at today? Where would we be at? 25 million? 20, like, and this is the thing that bothers me. Like, what are we going to do as Americans, as patriots, Tom, to stop it if it happens again? And I swear, and I've said this once before, I'm saying it again. We would have to, as Americans, Pat, go there and stop them. Because Spain doesn't have weapons. They don't have guns. This is an invasion by your leadership. And I'm sorry, this is the Republic. If we want to save the Republic, when these people come in and they come to power, which they're going to, it's inevitable. What are we going to do as Americans? And I promise on this podcast, I'm going to go to, like, we have to go there and fight. We have to. Or else what are we doing? And then
it's crazy. It's far... It's far in the wrong way. However, I fully understand what he's saying, and I think it's far, but like it's so extreme what's going on that it's Spain. That I feel like the answer he has, even if it's extreme, it's the only possible answer. Like
I'll let you go off. But...
It's too extreme fighting off right now. Like what he is saying right now, I actually agree with it. I think it's extreme, but what's going on in Spain is also extreme. And I feel like to protect your country, you need to have a stance and to fight. If the government doesn't fight for you, you should fight for yourself.
So let me say this. The one thing is look, I agree with certain people. It's like, bear in mind, I don't disagree with everything people like Tim Pool or this man says and people around Tim Pool. The must Civil War meme gets a little old. The issue with libertarians and militia types is once you unseat that order, what do you do to replace it, right? The problem with, I agree with people, right? So what's been happening in the U.S. as an example is the liberal people have been seeding the courts. They've been seeping the progressives. I think O'Reilly has the thing. I'd have to send the thing if you ever want to watch it on O'Reilly and progressivism. Progressivism has taken over places like basically Michigan and Minnesota, right? Or at least Minnesota with Tim Walz. New York City. They willingly are voting in socialists. Now, the trick is that city is $103 billion in debt. Crazy, huh? That is just their debt.
I also feel like, I will let you finish with your problem.
Well, let me finish what I'm saying. So you're looking at these areas which the cities, progressives in control. They control at least 8 states currently. They're getting DSA candidates. What's interesting is a lot of these DSA candidates, like the one in Maine that had the Totenkopf tattoo, you remember that from that hearing? He had the Totenkopf, like SS tattoo. He got dropped out because he got accused of a Me Too violation. There is another black DSA Democrat candidate, I think it's up in Michigan, I found the story. He got out because he supposedly had sexual allegations. Now, the interesting part about these people coming to power is they're corrupt. But you got to understand, corruption does not care from what politics you hail. It's just using the socialists. But socialists are more susceptible to corruption.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
Communism always rots from the head down. They always say, we're going to do what's best, Well, what happens in most socialist governments? Power funnels up, right? It
Yeah.
always funnels up into a strong man. That's why communism and socialism has failed everywhere it's tried.
Yeah.
So you got to look at this. I don't mind this man's position, but he is definitely the libertarian type. But he is also the person who is willing to say, "Oh, because I believe Ukraine's in the right, go put my life down." Okay, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but please understand. Why do we need to go secure Spain when we're not securing our own borders? It's the same people I say, we need to feed Africa, but we have starving people here.
Yeah.
But here, you just have to use, when you see a policy failing globally, don't mimic the policy.
Yeah. And I will say this, like, the more people you have, the bigger you have a reason to tax so you can maintain that safety net. So it's disgusting. It's a transfer of wealth from the people that are actually working and providing the income to the state to actually the state and the elites. They're the one getting that money, and then they redistribute in their so-called safety nets. So again, it's ridiculous.
Now, when you look at a place, what's interesting, see, Mamdani, I want people to remember this. O'Reilly, I usually watch like Glenn Beck, a lot of these normal people over years. These people who are basically like, yeah, socialism is bad. How do you think I know what progressivism is? Progressivism is a vile disease, dude. It's not just a vile disease of the body. It is a vile disease of the mind. And they pop up just to give people a brief overview of how progressives work. So progressivism started off last time about in the late Gilded Age. Think of Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, the great Teddy Roosevelt, Great White Fleet, sailed around the world, improved America's relation. Okay, but he was a very early progressive. Now, take into account, you get Woodrow eventually get his successor, Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was a very, very racist progressive. He believed in keeping his power to it. But also, guess, progressives gave rise to Marxism, socialism, and a bunch of other ideas, all rose on their watch. This was about 100 years ago. Give or take. The problem itself is these people have wormed their way into every part. Now, they still linger in places like Spain, Germany, places like this. Like, technically, the Germans want to be rid of their party, but they call the AfD Nazis. Call them right-wing extremists. Don't vote for them. AfD candidates are being killed because they're extremists, are being labeled as Nazis, which is interesting because that's the only other alternative party in Germany. Now,
that's hilarious.
When you look at, but it's a false demonization. When you actually look where the conservative or more law-abiding people are, it's in Eastern Germany that was under the rule of the Russians. The people voting for more liberal policies are the ones towards France.
Wow.
In the West.
I'm not surprised.
And this is a part when you talk about in Europe. See, Americans will say, yes, militarize our borders, just protect our areas. Because no one has ever said we don't want migrants. We want a responsible flow of migrants.
Yeah, so we get it. So that was a nice tangent. Thank you for sharing. So again, that's like what I think. Protect yourself when the government doesn't protect you.
But
This
let me
is
say before you pass on, one thing that's brought up in this is you remember when I said there was about 3 or 4 million, just under Biden, of Venezuelans?
yeah.
The theory is he let in 11 to 20 million migrants, and we don't know where half of them are.
I'm not surprised. So let's play more of that.
What do? We let it happen, and then a year down the road, 2 years down the road, when our women are getting murdered and raped, what do we say? Oh, the Democrats. It can't be like that. Because these people are helpless, Tom. In Spain, what are they doing? They drink wine and eat bread and dance in the streets and they watch the bulls run in the streets. They should let the bulls like loose in the streets to go after these people, because it's purposeful invasion by your leadership. And if your leadership is behind it, Pat, what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, and by the way, this
Vinny.
this picture right here, I don't know if you've seen this Pedro Sanchez picture with
Yeah, there you go.
Alex Soros. I don't know if the audience is able to see it or not. I'm only seeing Adam's face if you guys are showing it. You know, the question then becomes, who's behind it? Who's winning? Who's celebrating? Who's not? What could it turn into? For me, you know, can you pull up a poll? And by the way, the history of, if you go a little bit deeper in the history, there's a massive, massive history of, you know, Morocco Muslims taking over Spain, you know, 600-700 years when they invaded, and then Spain took it back over with the Catholics that came in, and there was a crusade-like a type of a thing. Tom, correct me on this. That took place, and then Portugal got involved, and Portugal used to have Ceuta. It used to be Portugal City, if I'm not mistaken, and then there were some treaties that happened that Portugal needed Spain, and then they gave it to Spain, and then Spain came in. And if you look at the city, it looks like you're in Spain, and it's down the street from Morocco. And so the argument a lot of people make is, well, you know, this is really Morocco and Muslims, and they did this to us. And they're like, no, this is how it works. This is Spain. So there is a rich history. Do you remember in Argentina where there is these allegations they made that after they held the flag when they beat England, Falkland Island, you know, the whole thing that they did?
Oh, yeah.
They said that's the reason the FIFA pulled up to Argentina, and they said, you're either going to get a 10-year suspension from competing in the World Cup, or you guys can't play the best. And that's why the clips showed that Messi was emotional. Some of the players were crying, let's just go do our best. Then the greatest player of all time gets 0 shots. The entire team gets 0 shots in the World Cup finals against Spain. And one of the most accurate players of all time is missing all the shots on everything, kind of weird. These are very sensitive topics. This to Morocco and Spain is very sensitive, which means what? I said this yesterday. If you want to go to Twitter, I said this yesterday. It's events like this that could lead to an all-out civil war. An all-out civil war. Spain could be heading into a civil war. This isn't just a border dispute.
And that goes back to what I was saying. Eventually, the takeover, the invasion, will lead to having these so-called minority becoming the majority. And what will happen? Well, what used to create and what used to be the foundation of your country shall be collapsed and be eaten by the new majority. And the new majority, they won't be so nice. So blood will be shed. And if the wrong side wins, you may end up losing your rights, ladies, because the Muslim, they don't like women with rights. They hate it. And this is their thought process. A lot of them are not that extreme, but the ones that are fleeing, the ones that take over the West, are the dangerous one, the extremists, the ones that want to put a jabby on every single lady, that want to take away the right to vote that every single lady have, the ones that tells the ladies shouldn't be driving. So
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's, you got to understand a lot of it. This is what I'm going to say. See, Christians knew how to deal with their moderate and extreme elements for many years. That's why we had the Reformation. And the fact that, so when I say there's a difference between, this is where I wish people could tell the difference, and this is where I've had to explain this. The difference between is an Islamist versus a Muslim. A Muslim is a person who believes in Islam but is willing to integrate. An Islamist is the opposite. You need to proselytize and do it. There is other stuff. If you are very curious, people who look into this, look into the stages of jihad. This is what's been happening in Europe. It's not that there's different stages and different steps as part of a jihad. This is in their actual stuff. The problem is this has been in a blueprint. They're just very loud about it now. They used to keep this hidden because remember, Multi, when I said the Muslim Brotherhood and then you got CARE? CARE is the political Islam face of the Muslim Brotherhood. So CARE is the Islamic and the ones that started labeling everyone as an Islamophobe. They are the ones, but whilst being anti-Semitic and spreading anti-Semitism. Now, the interesting
And we let them do that.
We
Not
let them do that
forcefully.
in the West because we don't recognize them as the threat they are. Some people do. CARE, but CARE is also a free charitable organization. And realistically, that they are just a political Islam. Because I don't know if I showed you in the Glenn Beck thing, and I need to probably, if I showed it to you, how they take over the West is you need radical Islam, but you also need political Islam. Political Islam is driven by a common Islamic type led by various leaders of either Shia or Sunni. But under, I think it's Shia, they view their imams, like in Iran, their imams serve more of a holy purpose versus guidance.
And again, I will reiterate, eventually, there's enough of these extremists in your country that they may take over your government. And you know what? The first thing they will do, they will purge the left. And then after they purge the left, they will be the only one left standing in power. And you know what will happen to women's rights? They will regress. They will fall back. And actually, the non-believer as well may end up in the same boat as the ladies, because again, the most extreme and vile person will be in power because we let them be, because we are gullible and stupid, and we have societal empathy, something that was mentioned several times.
Okay, the problem is having, if you call it suicidal empathy, right? It's not that. It's I would probably, a lot of the immigration problems start with harm reduction. You don't want people trafficked. The same Democrats, when you ask to control immigration, want to control child trafficking, human trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. How do you think most people get up here into the U.S.? Human trafficking. They're slaves for a little while, then they get out and then they can live. They're brought up here by coyotes.
Yeah.
It's a dirty word to say, but it's true. But these are the same Democrats that say protect young children and protect people's human rights. So I just bring that up because it's really interesting when you look at liberals. It's more harmful harm reduction, not in the terms that drugs they want it. They believe, oh, these people are oppressed. There's a phrase. That's how they view it. It's very, I believe that the West set themselves up to be infiltrated easily. Political Islam, ultimate goal, right now in the U.S., you see it with the Democratic Socialists of America. They're working within the Democrats, but they're undermining the Democrats. They are using liberals and socialists. The interesting part is the historical precedent that Multi's talking about is Iran. When the Iranian Revolution happened, The first people they got rid of following the communists is getting rid of the useful idiots. They got rid of the liberals and they got rid of the communists. The first thing that they learned that playbook from the communists. So here's the problem. No one in the West has yet to see how political Islam is playing the game in its dead center in the UK with a Muslim woman like leader over there. She's under Starmer.
I'm not surprised. Anyway, let's play more of that now.
Spain spent centuries under Muslim rule before Christian kingdoms fought for generations to reclaim the peninsula. Morocco will dispute Spain's control of Ceuta and Melilla today. The past has a way of resurfacing itself. So this could get very nasty very soon. And if it doesn't, let me say this, if it doesn't, it's going to sound weird the way I say it. It means the conservatives who know this is horrible for their country and they're nationalists, Spaniard nationalists, they're either afraid, they're worried what's going to happen with the backlash, they're already planning on leaving. Some may even use the word they're cowards to defend with values and principles that they know is right. They don't have the means to do so, and simply unfair. Unfair. One bad leader and philosophy can destroy a once great nation. The people that I know, the Spaniards, they're tough, they're strong, they love their country, they're proud. They just had the biggest moment in the last 50 years winning the flippin' World Cup. This should be a celebration, not an invasion. This is the gift the prime minister gives to their country. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of emotions behind something like this. Tom, Jeff, I'll come to you guys and I'll get to the next story. Go ahead, Tom.
So I have 4 fast points. Number 1, if they end up with an EU passport, they can come to the United States without a visa, and then they just throw the passport over their shoulder and then hide like the rest of the illegals in America. So there is a path for some of the worst and the most organized of these to get that passport and go wherever they want, basically, first.
And also, very small tangent. It will get ugly, because what if a bunch of these are dlord and they survived a very dangerous path and now they are in the EU? What do you think they will do? They'll start bombing places once they're set up and they found base and they found their dangerous allies that are already there. So, like, civil unrest is only the next logical path in that insanity that is Spain.
Do
right
you remember the story that they took in a leader of Hamas into your nation?
Yeah, I heard about it. But
and that he came in under like 4 different illegal.
The worst in that dragon, it's the Independent that talked about that. The effing media paid by our government said squat about it. And they knew it.
Yeah.
Because every effing Independent said it and it was spread. People knew, but it's dead silent from our big broadcaster.
And do you know what they do?
It makes me sick.
You didn't probably hear it because you're away getting back. I said, do you know one of the first things these migrants do when they get into Europe? They throw away their passports overboard. So you don't know where they were from. So they're coming in under refugee status.
Wow.
And then, so
the brightest, right?
Basically, back when the whole Muslim, like, okay, so the fall of Syria. Sorry if there's a little bit of history lesson here. This is what's really people don't know it. This always goes back years. So when Syrian civil war happened with ISIS that took out Assad, Assad fled. This was Assad's son who had basically ruled over Syria. Now, this is where the sarin gas was used and a bunch of other stuff, right? People don't know. They all fled. They fled to Europe and they started. Europe was like, why don't you take these people in? US was like, we don't know who we're taking in. Why should we take these people in? The EU wanted to take these people in anywhere because they seem like they're suffering. This was around 2015, 2014 area. And then they're not as peaceful as they appear. The problem is some of these people were harmful. We don't know. It's like when we were taking in Mexican migrants. We didn't know if they were MS-13. We don't know if they're criminals, gangsters. We have no idea. Now, I say in the fact of it, it's weird. This is where everyone forgets. Vet your people.
Second, looking at Poland, I'll tell you a couple things about Poland people don't know. There was issues with the old version of Russian passports. Old versions of Russian passports did not have biometrics. In other words, the higher levels of confirmation of who received the passport and who didn't. And Poland said, we are no longer accepting at the border the old Russian passports. You have to have the biometric passport, because they were fearful that within the people with the old passports, it was easy to counterfeit, that there could be people that they don't want in Poland. Next, Belarus got a little too hot for them. And so they absolutely locked down the border at Belarus. And the article I read said that they only took the most desperate refugees, but they had basically put it on lockdown because what was going on in Belarus was too intense. That is a well-run country, Poland, with sensible things, still able to give an authentic refugee shelter and doing the right thing. Now I'll take you to my last point. The weakest border in the EU destroys the whole thing. Destroys the whole thing. And what Germany did and then regretted with all the boat people that made it to Germany, and now what Spain has done, your weakest border is everything. What was Texas doing was screaming and trying to put its own people down on the border till the Biden administration say, take your Texas Marshals and your Texas Rangers off that border. And they took the bulldozer and took down the barbed wire. Yep. Because, and by the way, because it wasn't enough that things were flooding into California. It wasn't enough that things were flooding right into the highway that runs right up to Tucson, Arizona. It wasn't enough. They wanted it. So the weakest border in the EU was Germany.
So what they're talking about is what I was talking about earlier. There's a border between Phoenix that goes about 80 miles in. They say anywhere between 80 miles from the border with Mexico is potentially unsafe in Arizona.
Wow.
It goes right, you know what he was just talking about, right? That area it's down below like Phoenix.
Yeah.
If you go look at a map,
yeah.
There's like, it goes in there. It's considered dangerous. They find the trash from migrants that have crossed there. And that's what he's talking about. So the idea is, it's like, I don't talk out of my ass when I know these facts. This has been our southern border. But a lot of what he's talking about is the biometrics. We cannot prove that these people are who they say they are.
Because they don't have their passport.
And then these are the common, we don't know. But then again, a lot of this is poor, uneducated labor. Though half those Moroccans going in, right, are poor, uneducated labor. What are they going to do? So the trick about it is, Spain has been in end-stage liberalism more than you guys have. They're a decade or two down our path where they want to take us with open borders. So a brief history lesson, I know there's many. After a train bombing, they elected a whole regime years ago of socialists. Socialists rode that to victory. Took over their government. They've had at least 2 to 3, not liberals, socialist regimes since at least 2010. Somewhere in that period. I have to go look at the exact date of the Spain bombings. This is not the first rodeo they have. It's just eroded their entire society. Now, what I don't like is the American take that they said they're just sipping wine. No, Europe along the Mediterranean is a simple life. They are known. They're not that far removed from Franco's Spain. Yeah, the memories are beginning to fade. Franco was a dictator who had both socialist and communist shot. There's no way around it without discussing Franco's Spain. But the reality is, these people get into power, then the average people don't know they see a hero. When you see the footage, there's people running across the border. They're like, go free, like butterflies, right? See, to use a movie reference, Multi, do you remember Rage? The movie Rage? The PETA people freed the test animals that caused the Rage virus? No? Multi? Guess you're AFK. But it happened. You know, they freed it. That's how the Rage virus got outside of the facility. Liberals create their own prison.
But look what happened to Germany years later. Conservative victories, they're still not out of the woods, but Germany is waking up. And now Spain opens the border. And the last point I'll make, Pat, is an economic one. If you listen to what the Prime Minister was saying, here's what I heard. We are going to lose this. We are going to lose this many people. We are going to lose this. It almost sounds like he wants the low-cost workers to come in so he can compete with the Vietnams and the Philippines for manufacturing and build tax and revenue off that. If you listen close, it's almost like he doesn't just want globalism. He wants Spain to be able to compete. It used to be the Eastern European countries, Pat, had lots and lots of people willing to work in semi-safe factories and build things for the rest of Europe.
Terrible strategy.
It's a terrible economic strategy, but I see that in his words.
You're actually giving him credit by saying that.
I'm not giving him credit. I'm saying it's an evil plot.
But hear me out. But no.
I'm going to give it this, because a lot of this is basically, he's a businessman by trade. The problem is socialism doesn't know how to keep itself funded. The reason why socialism and like Marxism works in small is because you don't have a population. So
the bigger the harder.
Oh yeah, no, because that's the reason. Because what
your safety net will need more money.
So what he's talking about right now is there's an idea. A lot of socialist governments think they can take money, move it around, get money elsewhere. The issue is that's just the weakness of it. The problem is the president thinks if you import the right people, guess what? Democrats went from a party that supported the working class white man and the household stay-at-home mom to supporting thinking brown, black, Indian, Asian people are the saving grace, right?
Yeah.
Guess what happened, Multi? They started going down to the only way we're going to win elections in certain area is brown people. Oh, by the way, ask the Democrats if they consider Asians minorities. Nope, they're white people, according to most. Did you know a lot of Latinos buy stuff are not considered Latinos?
Because they vote Republican.
White. They're considered white.
And they vote Republican because they know how stupid the Democrats can be.
No, you know what? You people think this is how it starts. They get into the voting block. The biggest problem with these people who are going into Spain, it's a symptom of a problem. The UK has been dealing with this quietly. The UK's been employing them. Instead, the people who get into the UK go up north to Scotland and Ireland, then go back down. It's more explained. Sargon's people in Spain. This is why it's getting hard to solve it.
I see time flies, and we only got like the first video.
It's not an evil plot. The way you just put the last part is your way of saying that's his economic philosophy of this is the way of working labor and being able to compete with others. But I don't even think logic exists with guys like this. I don't think it exists. I don't think this guy's thinking about it from that lens. I think he looks at the world in a very different way that you and I do. We're giving him credit to think he's thinking like an economist.
But he loses Spain and he creates Vietnam.
Yeah, well,
I know.
What you're saying, I agree with you, Pat. I think that's just the economic justification they're going to throw out there. They don't believe that for a second.
It's an
I think what's
excuse.
disheartening about this is that this is a democratically elected government that is choosing to do this, which means there is significant support for this
now.
kind of thing. And that's the thing I think we need to focus on.
Right.
Is why do so many people support this? I don't. Nobody's falling for the argument that Spain's GDP is going to be cut in half by 2100 if this does. Nobody falls for that. What really happens is, as we'll talk about here, I think, the toxic empathy. We watched that clip of the one guy who maybe was implicated in a murder. People on the left will hear that guy's story and say, oh my God, that poor guy. He was coming here for a better life. It's really that sort of perspective that drives all this. Their perspective is
and the premise itself is stupid because a lot of the criminals they don't know better, so they will just do it again. And it's not all of them, but there's enough of them to give a very bad rep.
global South, for lack of a better term, is, to use President Trump's word, a hellhole, a shithole, right?
Yeah.
And so it's understandable why those people would want to come to the North. And so the problem that we have is convincing people to overcome their toxic empathy when they have no experience of the downside of their toxic empathy. For them, it's all just distant, images on social media. They don't have to live with the consequences of their actions and their support. So the problem here is we have democratically elected governments, and I don't mean Democratic Party necessarily, but democratically elected governments,
the process,
that are absolutely choosing to do this, and they're disingenuous in their reasoning for it. But they know very well the type of people who will support these programs, and they are doing everything they possibly can to pump it up. Like you said, ICE enforcement should have been a no-brainer, but the Democrats took that and said, we've got tons of social media content. It was a layup.
Easy.
And we also fumbled the execution.
I'll say this because a lot of people criticize me, and I get their criticism, and they'll say something like this. Go back to Iran. Look at you. You came here because of immigration. What if there was no immigration for you? Fair. Let's go through it. We applied to get green card in the early 80s. We stayed in Iran till 89, 6 weeks after Khomeini died. We were able to go to Germany. From Germany, we came down here. By the way, do you know the level of gratitude I have for Germany and America? I am grateful. America didn't need to do anything for me. America owes me nothing. Nothing. I came here as a gift. When they gave it to me, it was, what can I do for America? Not what I can take from America. How can I?
And this is a very different philosophy than the modern immigrants. The modern immigrants, they feel like they're entitled into having so many benefits and so many things because the government now, they give away so many things to immigrants.
They need the safety net, Multi. They demand it.
Yeah.
Because
I think his philosophy, his mindset is great, but it's the new ones that don't think his way that are the
You'll get into it. He actually served in the military, then he started multiple businesses.
Yeah. So we will continue his story, but I just like his story. It's the kind of story I can root by. And I sound like someone that's 100% against immigration, right? But I know there's nuance to it. My wife is an immigrant. I love her so much. But I think the really bad element should have some light on. We should talk about the bad elements. We should talk about the risk. We should talk about not having open border, like having rules and laws So when people come here, we can monitor them and we can make sure we bring good elements. But that's not what's going on in Spain. What's going on in Spain is just brownwashing society. They just want to replace the whites. They just want to bring all of these people so they have more voters and they can feel better about being crazies. So this is what's going on, and let's finish that first video.
Contribute. So I did my best, went to the military, got out, and built businesses, created jobs, just to say thank you. Because I couldn't have done this in Iran. But don't get it twisted. America didn't have to do this. If America said, Pat, we don't want you from Iran, I actually understand it. Why? If somebody's coming from Iran and you've seen all the chaos that's happening after Shah and Khomeini and all these guys are killing a bunch of people, I don't blame you to not want people to come from different places to protect your country. I don't blame you. And if you got it, I got lucky. This is why 10 years ago, 8 years ago, one of the funniest things happened with my kids it was here. So 5.5 years ago, one night, my son tells me, Dylan says, Daddy, why don't you have a middle name? I says, Daddy, I just don't have a middle name. He says, but everybody in this house, including your dad, has a middle name, Derek. I have a middle name, James. Patrick has a middle name, Gabriel. Why don't you have a middle name? I said, I don't have a middle name. He says, if you did have a middle name, what would it be? I said, Lucky. He says, why Lucky? I said, because I'm the luckiest man in the world. You're 6, 7 years old.
I like
you're
that
naive.
response.
Like, Daddy, you're the luckiest man in the world. I said, I'm the luckiest man in the world. You didn't know that? He says, come on, Dad. The next day he goes to school. The teacher reaches out to us saying, your son is going around telling everybody, do you know my dad's the luckiest man in the world? He believed it. Guess
Nice
what?
story.
I believe it. We didn't come like this. We didn't come invading like this. We waited patiently and did it by the books. And if they didn't allow me, they have the right to not allow me. That's why I'm lucky.
He is a good element. He is a proud American, I think.
Here's, I'm going to say this too. You know, you talk about democratically associate. I would have to see, I can find it because I was looking at O'Reilly's recent. I need to finish it. So Laughlin polling, which is what Trump uses in a lot of organizations. One of the questions they asked, Republicans and Democrats both have negatives when you want to vote for them. Democrats lead Republicans in voting for Senate and Congress, right?
Yeah.
But here's a caveat. They asked a sub-question, Multi, and this is what reveals. So, 49%. So let's say about 40. So let's say the question is, who are you more likely to vote for? The categories are a Republican promoting capitalism, a Democrat talking about socialism, and don't know. 16% said don't know. 36% said they would vote for a Democrat with socialism. The rest said they would vote for a Republican wanting to promote freedom and capitalism.
This is fascinating. Anyway,
that is actually the voter base in the U.S. right now. That is a scary, when you say socialism,
lots of people want it.
It's voted in.
So, by the way, now we get to Spain camp of the Saint moment with the Lotus Eater, the big attraction. So it is the one we are covering now.
Spanish city of Ceuta. There are 83,000 people living there, and it is located, as you can see, in North Africa, at the very tip of Morocco here. This has been owned by the Spanish crown since 1580. So it's not exactly a recent claim that they're making on this. And what it allows is for the Spanish to control the Straits of Gibraltar. So I don't know how well I can show you, but so Gibraltar is just north of it, but Spain controls this area around it, so that is Spanish waters. So legally, through various international treaties, they have the control of the Straits of Gibraltar. And there are geostrategic reasons that people do not want Spain to have control of the Straits of Gibraltar. And this is the background to the Camp of the Saints-style invasion of Ceuta, which I'm sure you've all seen. This is the footage of the literally tens of thousands of Moroccan men who have somehow just rocked up outside of this city. I mean, it's got walls. It's not like they can just walk in, but they've managed it. And now, I mean, that's literally the barrier is a small bit of ocean that they can swim around, and then they're in.
What you're seeing there is live footage of the Danube in about 370 AD as the barbarians crossed.
Unironically, is a barbarian invasion. But it's remarkable, isn't it? It's like they're looking at Spain as the land of milk and honey. Really? Okay. Fair enough. Things must be pretty rough in Morocco.
It's just convenient they can get in there. I mean,
it's the land of black pig.
Aaron Bastani will tell you that it's just Africa.
We'll get to that. Okay. We'll get to Aaron Bastani. We'll get to all the leftist reactions. But before we do, of course, go and get your copy of Islander 6 now. It's
Sorry.
So I will move forward a bit.
I'm going to say this. Okay. Islander
it's
theirs. So what it is they promote a one-time magazine. Sargon started this. Sorry, let me say this. Sargon of Akkad is a very divisive figure. He was a liberal, became conservative. Now, he does have some hang-ups. His people on his panels shift. The guy who looks very pale is a former member of parliament, where he got kicked out. There's a couple of people. He has been persecuted. Now, bear in mind a little bit of history. He goes over it. So, continue.
Let's play more now.
Young men. Now, how would you organize something like this?
Looks like Coca-Cola organized it. They would see it. Look.
You know, you say open border, folks. We don't deport you if you come here. And I wouldn't be surprised if the government also did a phone call or something with some of the countries these people are from, and they were
I don't think it was the government.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I mean, it's Spain. They are nutcases.
I know. You remember when I said Cuba, when we were going to say take amnesty? They just let out the prisoners and we just took them. The problem is you force the issue. Now, if it was known that the decision was going to come down and then they organized it on the thing of, yeah, it's very dramatic. But the idea there are organizers, you're not organizing waves of 8,000 people swimming across in waves. They also have to be able to swim. Oh, by the way, they left a bunch of tires they were floating on, too. It's funny.
That's fascinating.
Like the Coke adverts, so like Coke in the background, sponsored by.
You would presumably have to be the Moroccan government, right? And so it does kind of look like this is what's happening. I mean, literally just sort of drop.
And those who forgot, we mentioned it earlier when we first seen it. Apparently, they were dropping criminals. And we also had the testimony of one of the former criminals that's like, oh, I want a second chance just to get all of the empathy from the far leftists.
Murder.
Yeah.
Dropping them off out of these trucks on the border. I mean, who's this guy? Who's this guy organizing this? He looks like an official of some sort.
Yeah, and they're not carrying bags or anything.
They're not carrying bags. They've got nothing, which is really strange. I mean, you would think they'd have, like, you know, just
toothbrush,
water. Yeah, exactly. No. A lot of them are just not even with shirts. So anyway, this appears.
That just means within 24 hours they're going to get desperate.
Exactly.
Food, water, all.
It Does indeed, doesn't it? They're going to be very desperate, especially in the hot North African sun. I'm sure that they have made long-term plans for their jaunt to Ceuta. And so this it looks like...
So I don't know if this was sarcasm, but I heavily doubt the country was ready to have so many immigrants. And this is why they're looting stuff. It's because the country wasn't ready. So a lot of these criminals that the government enabled will steal water, food.
Now, here's the thing.
It's crazy.
This island, when I remember when I said it had about a population living there of about 85,600.
Yeah.
All these people immediately came in. When they went into the town, it looked like a flash mob. Some of them did start looting stores. It was absolute shit show and chaos, dude. Right when they got across the border, they got into the town. The first 24 hours was, yeah, they were starting to break in and steal. It was that bad.
And again, they are looting for food and water, and it's crazy because again, it's the government enabling it and saying, you know what, these businesses, let's ruin their budget plan. And
I don't think that was it. I think it was just an unintended consequence. Because look, this was a wave of about one wave was like 8,000 people that came ashore over a period.
And I will ask you this, Dragon. Do you think it was an accident, the businesses locked down during the queue?
You're talking about the Fauci
yeah,
here.
what we cannot name because otherwise YouTube will be like, oh, flagged.
You're talking about the Fauci hearing the other day. Yeah, there's a...
I think that was on purpose. The government wanted to crush the businesses.
You can't say I can't. I will say,
at least in Canada, that was the case.
We were proven correct about the origins of it, and the problem is with the main man pleading, he ain't Lobo, pleading the fifth and being sarcastic. It is interesting to see, but that was not. It wasn't planned as much as there's other. Yes, it was man-made. That's as far as I can say right now, because there's a lot of stuff that I've known over there. So.
Like the organized use of civilians as a weapon against Spain by Morocco. And now I've seen reports that a lot of them are freed criminals pardoned by the king yesterday. I've been unable to corroborate this, so take it with a grain of salt. But isn't that an interesting thing? If that is the case, that they basically have emptied their jails.
Like what Putin did against Ukraine.
Very much. And he's been trying to do it against Europe generally.
What they're talking about is Putin. So there's two forms of army in Russia. There's actually, I should say there's three. Sorry. You have the Russian army, the Russian official forces. You have looks like the army reserve, right?
Yeah.
Then you got the penal legions. He's been using criminals for penal legions, as well as mercenaries. So I'll cover this on this play.
I mean, Poland has a massive border wall because of all the Middle Easterners that Putin has been trying to send through Belarus across to them. And the same sort of thing that the Turks
should do that
Greece.
to Ireland.
There's no border. There's an open border. Anyway, so you've got this quite evident strategic maneuver that's going on through the Moroccan authorities using what appear to be criminals and other vagrant ne'er-do-wells who would go on this kind of march to the Spanish city, this little enclave they have. And so they got in. And then you had like weird videos like this, running through the streets. And then just some white woman welcoming them all in.
Yeah, what was that about?
Yeah,
Dunno.
I said she should be charged with...
Okay. What you're seeing is a woman sitting there just filming it. It's kind of like the social media trend. I had to say this earlier on a friend's stream. I was like, The worst is narcissism in system. They're like, hey, gotta let these people in. TikTok, things of this nature. Okay, here's the thing. This was going on. You're not a mass response. You're not stopping 8,000 people that come over the border. What he's talking about, by the way, Northern Ireland or Scotland, the problem is the migrants, when I was saying earlier, go up to the UK. They go through the UK. Then they go wait out in Ireland and Scotland so they're not caught. And then the African and the Muslims are coming back down. That means the governments up there are complicit. And it's a route that's been tested and proven by journalists. Now, I think we covered that. That was covered during the murder of the guy who got stabbed, nearly killed. This is what he's talking about. Now, this woman, she shouldn't be charged. She shouldn't be filming it. The problem is all these people rushed ashore, and this was the result.
Treason, I don't really see why not. You're helping an enemy, isn't it?
I just don't see how you would characterize this as anything other than an invasion, right?
Exactly.
I mean, was she genuinely doing that, or what was going on?
I've no idea.
She was doing.
She's videoing it.
She's videoing it. Yeah.
Well, see, do you think that woman should be charged with something, or she was getting a glamour shot for Facebook or somewhere?
I think she was getting a glamour shot.
She was doing something for, oh, I support the migrants, right?
Yeah, because she's crazy. And tomorrow she will get essayed by one of them.
Like, you're gonna be, let's be clear here.
I don't wish ill, you know, but like when you got so many guys on hormones and not only that, but like they don't have papers and they most likely won't be punished. What do you think will happen?
No, but what I'm going to say is what she's exactly doing. I said, when you're away, she's getting a thing for Twitter, everything. This is how this stuff came out. People saw this and then went down there and it got out on Twitter. She's just like, rah, go TikTok to my liberal friends. I'm being a supporter. It's like when someone's LGBTQ, right?
Will she do that? Will she do that if one of them is essayed her?
You know, this is what's funny. I hate to say this. There are actually people, and I said this to somebody, they didn't understand. There's an actual organization in the U.S. that has been supporting Muslims, Gays for Palestine. And I'm like, you guys don't realize who you are. Okay. But no, people are like, they're liberal. They don't see them as threats. The problem
until they get attacked or robbed.
And then, no, you know, infinite story. I move along. It's a little dark. So the issue is during, and you can find this. So when the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt, there was a CNN reporter in the crowd surrounded by men. You can find this still to this day. That woman, the female reporter amongst those men, was essayed, groped by all of them around. She reported it back and it was hidden when she got back to the States.
I'm not surprised.
And it was, she kept that story hidden from the public. Probably only a few people knew. But it's been a very interesting kept secret. It was kept secret in a lot of liberal circles, not conservative circles. So, continue.
But then she's waving them in.
This is good content for her
unless
Instagram.
she's doing it ironically, saying, "Oh, just come on in,"
yes.
but I don't think so.
Doubtful. Yeah.
Doubtful, isn't it? No, until we recognise it's an invasion, we're just going to lose the West. But will any country do that? The only one I've seen saying it is Italy, saying something about closing the border and getting out of the Schengen area or something. That's the only thing I've seen so far.
Well, we'll get to all of that in a minute.
Okay.
But the point is, how would you characterize this other than an invasion? Like this, if you went back 500 years, all of these would be the Sultan's men. And
Yeah.
they, I mean, literally,
They
they
would.
literally invaded Spain like 1,000 years ago. Like the Sultan's men, they'd be armed, they'd be in ranks, and there'd be exactly those sorts of guys invading a foreign country.
A medieval army
Yes.
was often just grab your pick, Charlie off the farm, we're going to war. It wasn't necessarily a trained soldier, it was just an ordinary person.
But these are just young men who are invading a foreign country.
Did you see there was some footage of like lots of people walking through countryside and through hillside, actually walking to Ceuta as well?
Yes.
That's been going on.
Yeah. It's like why they all decided all at once from all over Morocco. Today was the day. There's got to have been some coordination there.
Yeah, it's been planned for sure.
No doubt whatsoever. I mean, we'll get into the numbers in a second. But as you can imagine, this went brilliantly in Ceuta. Obviously, you had rioting. I mean, look at amazing. What do you think happens when you get tens of thousands of Moroccan men who have got nothing, as you say? They're not carrying anything. They're not settlers. They're invaders. What do you think happens? Well, they start rioting and breaking stuff and looting, which is obviously another thing that's happening.
What is that, a cafe?
Yeah, well, it's some shop or something, I have no idea. But they're breaking in and they're looting. And the residents have fought back. You get like knots of residents who are like attacking the individual ones they catch. But what are they supposed to do? The whole city is now overrun. I mean, there were only 80.
This is something you don't realise.
It's not only overrun, they don't have the mean to contain it.
I'm going to say this. You want to know what's funny? Say what you say if you're European or Asian. Say what you want about Americans. This shit would never happen.
Well, it happened under Biden.
No, you know why?
Because Biden is crazy.
No, it would happen in certain states. Do you know how many firearms we have?
Oh, I see. Pew pew.
I'm not saying YouTube. Please understand. Okay, YouTube, bot, AI, overlords. Please understand what I'm about to say. This would not happen if we had a mob of, let's say, Mexicans tried to take over a town. Do you know how well armed a populace is? This wouldn't happen in Spain. They don't have access to CC or OC, right?
Yeah.
You get my drift now, right?
Yeah.
There would
Pepper
be
spray
some
is a weapon
defense.
there.
There would be some defense. I'm just saying. But in Spain, this is a disarmed populace. Do you know the first thing people take away?
Your guns.
Guns. There's a reason the founding fathers, yes, we have potential mass murder. We have problems. But at least we can defend ourselves if someone attacks us. Most gun owners are responsible. So in this situation, you see, yeah, that would suck. The moment a couple of them see like a shotgun or something about to pepper them, they would not come back into that store. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Because you see how they went into that store, they just burst in. This was basically no one had an idea. This was loud enough. This got out. That's why, like that woman filming on the bridge, it got out to Instagram, it got out to TikTok, it got out to X. YouTube doesn't know how to respond to it. But
And again, you guys can contain it because you guys have weapons, but they don't
we
have
also have
weapons.
militarized police.
Yeah.
For reasons, because we have to fight gang members that use ARs. Have fun.
So again, they can't contain such numbers. So good luck, Spain. Good luck. You made your bed, and you will die in it.
You kind of notice it when you go to the countryside and there's like there's a little village in the middle of nowhere and a few old ladies and a few kids. The disproportionate strength of a young man versus a normal citizen, even just a young man against a 50-year-old bloke.
Yeah.
And this will just be ordinary Spanish citizens against young men.
Yeah. I mean, here they are breaking into someone's house, of course, because they need somewhere to squat at night. Where else are they going to go?
It's like World War Z.
It is. But how would you describe this other than an invasion? And this has gone on into today, the second day, where there's more of them, fences and whatnot. And so, what are we supposed to say or do about this?
I've been to Ceuta.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, it's a long time ago. I went there. It would have been 1990, summer of 1990. But I was living in Rome at the time, funnily.
I will just pause here because it came to my mind. Crime will rise, folks. Shocker, right? You increase the number of people, and among these people, there are known criminals. Of course, crime will rise. So let's continue.
Enough. We got a train down to the south of Spain, across to Ceuta, and then from Ceuta we went into Morocco and up into the Rif Mountains. But Ceuta, felt like Spain. And you literally took those, you walked a few meters across the border and you really were immediately conscious that you were in not just another country, but another culture.
Yeah.
The people looked different. The language was different. Everything was much more run down. And in those days, I think there's been a directive from the Moroccan king or whoever's in charge that Moroccans can't be as aggressive with tourists.
Oh, really?
But back in 1990, they were so aggressive, and as soon as they saw a Northern European, their eyes lit up, dollar signs in their eyes, women, and all the rest of it. And as soon as you walk up, you are in Africa now. They used to say that, welcome to Africa. And then if you didn't do business with them, didn't want to buy whatever they were selling, they'd get so aggressive with you, and that you are in Africa now. You are not safe. And this used to happen.
For quite some time, I really thought African were the easiest to integrate and assimilate simply because they have similar values. But the more I hear about that story, the more I feel like it's probably only the women that are compatible. But even there,
no.
I think...
Let me say, there's a parts of Africa where they're talking about. Okay, a little history of Africa. Africa is called the Dark Continent. Not because of the races. A lot of people, there's sun, people have dark skin. So, Egypt so when you're in North Africa, let's say that's Egypt through Morocco, right? Multi, you know your geography a little bit.
This I know. This much I know.
This is the part, you have the big dividing line of the Sahara. Then you get to the parts of lower Africa. I mean, when you get to certain parts of Africa in the south, like Guyanans and others, they integrate really well.
I think there's
South Africans can, Guyanans, so them.
Majority I think parts of Congo can assimilate very well.
Yes, but once you get to the Somalis, which are very inbred, uneducated, and they have like sub 100 IQs proven, they're very Islamic. They're very, parts of Ethiopia are very civilized as well. But a lot of these, it depends on the part. But in Northern Africa, most of the people are very civilized. Morocco does have a culture, but there is also a very lower culture. Now, the ones that rush to shore are a byproduct of that lesser culture. So they're uneducated, they're searching for work, they're desperate. But when you say Africans can't, some can, some can't. It's proving that the Somalis and certain parts of the more violent tribalistic part of Africa haven't been able to immigrate. Remember the ones I told you that were flashing people in public?
Yeah.
Those parts are like the tribalistic parts. They don't do well. So you got to understand, these people, it varies from parts of Africa. It's just, they are a backwards continent. They still have tribalism. So you got to understand, it's not that I don't think they can integrate, but it's just the level of the ones that are either, I hate to use the term inbred or basically ill-educated, They have like, let's say, I think someone said the average IQ of Somalia was like 86 to 90. So you're talking about they're backwards in more ways than one. And someone will say, that's not a real statistics. It's been proven. Those people, like, they are, I hate to say it, all they're good for is labor. You don't have engineers or doctors coming out of them half the time.
That's true. And again, if you have the lowest denominator of a society, if you got like the rot, of course the crime will rise. Of course, if you don't get the doctors, the mechanics, of course there's more chance of a life of
your
crime.
basic laborers.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting. Why do you think, by the way, when we covered before the Machete Act, the Machete Wars in the UK and the guy just stabbing people, he just looked at the guy, beheaded the guy out of dishonor, tried to, because he felt dishonored. That man should not be anywhere in the UK, should he?
You should stay in this country.
You agree, right? Because
Yeah.
that's not the kid. That is what you're bringing in. How that man got all the way up there, I have no idea. He just looked at it and said, ha, I showed you white people. It's like, that's how they gain dominance down there. That doesn't work in UK, does it? So, you get the idea.
And all the time. And it was just, in those days, there was a sort of, you kind of got bragging rights as a backpacker. I would only have been 20 if you went to India. India was like the toughest place to go because there was so much hassle. But everyone who'd been to Morocco before they went to India just said India is just so much easier. Morocco was so aggressive. Yeah. And I think the king had to say, tone it down, guys, because we're losing loads of tourists at a certain point.
Yeah, so I wouldn't go there.
It was the... And you literally walk three yards across the border and you felt it.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what we've seen of the video footage coming out, I would suggest that there's a problem here. What do you think, Nick? Is there a problem here?
Well, yeah, I mean...
possibly some kind of emergency?
It is an emergency. As you say, unless it's classified as an invasion, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah. For some reason, the Spanish government has rejected it being a national emergency.
Spanish government leftist.
The governor of Ceuta is like, excuse me, central government, could you help us, please? We have a problem here. They've rejected it on the grounds that national emergencies cannot be declared over migration issues. They can only be declared in response to dire meteorological events, such as current wildfires or in the face of volcanic or nuclear threat.
Just change the stupid rule then.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for laughing out loud, but
I laugh as well, like it's sad.
How
they lost
bad?
their mind.
How
they lost
badly
their mind. There's no other word. They lost their mind.
How badly do liberal nations and governments, pardon the phrase, cuck themselves to be this way?
They are looking. They are attacking people. And
okay, let's assume I have to look this up. U.S. has martial law, right? Do you remember like the trucker protests where you are? At least the police came out.
Well,
right?
It wasn't justified, but yes, they did.
They have you have stuff against civil unrest. This is why the idea of if this ever happened, we would have SWAT or government National Guard on the streets. This is why, like, when you look at certain events, let's say Jan 6th, if the Democrats really wanted National Guard up there, they were scared, they would have had the National Guard right at the Capitol within 30 minutes. But you got to understand, that's a national emergency. If people rushed the Capitol, rush people, that's a threat. You don't know what that is. So
I've seen buses getting burnt down, building getting burnt down, and you're telling me it's not an emergency. They lost their mind.
But okay, now the only quandary, and I say this, that gets in the U.S., and this is something you got to ask yourself, and this is why when they said we should use, if there was ever Black Lives Matter Antifa protests, should Trump use martial law? Like, you remember when all the ICE protests were happening? It relates to like a subject like this.
Yeah.
Do you bring in the National Guard and override and declare martial law in the state? Governors don't want to do that because that's enforcing a curfew. That's saying force or lethal force can be authorized, right? The president can do it in the case of bad, but Trump did not act. The idea, like especially let's take a similar situation. We have had multiple states in rebellions everywhere ICE has gone. California, Boston, etc., cities. They're told not to work with the police. The government could
speaking of police, I've seen clips where immigrants were attacking policemen.
Well, the problem is those police are not riot gear. They have some, but they're not going to have riot gear on hand. They're going to have it on hand, but it's going to... So, like...
But again, that's not the reason to say, oh, they lost their mind.
But basically, the cops here in Texas, right? I would say you screw with them. They have both an AR and a shotgun in the car, okay? All right?
Yeah.
They do. That's in case they have to handle stuff themselves. They're trained how to use it. Then you got SWAT officers everywhere, if you didn't know. But the thing about this is, these...
I will be right back. Sorry about that.
You're busy. I'll cover for you. So martial law, declaring it, is a state of emergency. Let's say you have a Category 5 hurricane hit something. Okay. A Category 5 hurricane is about to hit. You tell people, the government tells people to stay inside. Okay, fine. People go out, get themselves killed. Looters will be shot. This was in the case of Katrina. Katrina had those. Spain has no provisions because they don't view this as an actual invasion. Now, what happened the day after this? The military was mobilized.
It's just such a bureaucratic response to a physical thing. It's just nuts.
So they do have a communist government. So
the footage is so radicalizing. They're going to run into this problem everywhere in Europe. The more we see things like this, everyone's going to be saying, "Well, this is an invasion. Why aren't you stopping it?" And there's going to be so much pressure for governments to do something, whether they will or not.
The response in Germany and Italy was horror. France immediately recoiled. France has been dealing with the Yellow Vest riots for at least 2 to 3 years. I mean, technically, if you think about the fire of Notre Dame, they burned down that. This reopened. They repaired it. Yeah. Stuff was a byproduct of it.
It's a different question.
Yeah. Too late. By the time they act, it'll be too late. When it already is too late.
Is it Lampedusa, the Italian island that's got tens of thousands of foreigners just sat?
There's more people there than there are Lampedusans.
Yeah, there's only like 8,000 Lampedusas or something, and there are like 20, 30,000 Africans.
Oh, yeah, well, Lampedusa's closer to North Africa than it is to Europe, therefore it should be African. Please.
We'll get to that. Right, so anyway, I mean, from the numbers we've seen, it looks like there is literally tens of thousands coming in. So, of course, the BBC did their best to...
hundreds.
To downplay that as much as possible. I mean, there are probably more than 100 in this photo, this small photo of them breaking in, right?
I was saying we need BBC Verify on that.
Yeah, well, thankfully, the BBC is nothing if not the court stenographer of the global liberal order. And so if the global liberal order says something different, then it's like, yeah, you're right, it's 50,000 nearly.
That was so funny. Life comes at you fast. 100 to 49,000.
Yeah. So I was going to say the Telegraph was reporting 40,000 this morning. So
our estimates of tens of thousands turned out to be a lot more accurate because it's obviously tens of thousands.
That is so many people.
It's unbelievable. It's a football stadium.
Yeah. It's a football stadium.
It's unbelievable numbers of young men who have just, I mean, that's an army. Like William the Conqueror conquered England with 10,000 men.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, 50,000 men.
Suitors it's not like London or something. It's
See, you're talking in an area that's isolated. The population of the island was 85,000. Let's say 85 and a half. It's a 40,000 people. It woke up Europe, but now will they learn the lesson late? I mean, you brought the military in afterwards, cleaning it up, but it was still traumatizing.
It's not a big.
It's like
space.
Gibraltar.
Well, yeah, there you go.
It's Gibraltar.
I don't know what the population of Ceuta is, but
83.
Okay, so more than half the population of Ceuta have entered Ceuta, except the demographic is completely different because there's no old ladies.
And yeah, there's no wives, there's no children. It's just young men, and they're causing havoc in there. But for some reason, this is not a crisis for the Spanish government because, of course, migration is a human right as far as they're concerned.
I can't believe that they are so hell bent on not being able to admit what's staring them right in the face.
Yep.
It's like the Monty Python thing. This is just a scratch. I mean, it's that insane.
I've seen reports that 9 people have died, but I couldn't corroborate anything. So
I wonder if it's really possible with their ideology. You know, there's all these ideas. Is it deliberate? Is it conspiracy to destroy the West and so on? I mean, their ideology fundamentally is that this, on some level, is righteous. I don't think they can get beyond that.
Yeah, this is why
even the Pope is saying it. You know, I mean, if you hate the West and you think that white people have this guilt that is almost amounts to original sin, you secretly want this, so you can't bring yourself to anything about it.
It's what we deserve.
Often it's not even secret.
Right.
So in Europe, they're just now learning of the concept of white guilt. How Western society fell first was by telling white people, you're racist. It starts off with politically correct culture. It's hard to talk about this without having the discussion of politically correct culture. What it really means. What did it do to society? Younger generations are taught to be guilty of their race. They're taught the shame of their history. They're not taught what caused it or how to prevent it. The problem is eventually there is a backlash to it. But a lot in the West, you will get a lot of people in the middle. They'll be tolerant of extremists from both sides. Then have enough. Like there was a study, and I went over it on my channel with Smug. I showed it. Very few people call themselves neurodivergent, all of these terms, but people have heard of some of these terms. There's very few people who use them every day.
I'm back, so let's continue. Where were we at before
we're back a little further. They were talking about the suitors, the others. Didn't really miss anything. So,
Okay.
The thing is, they're talking about the concept of white guilt. Canada probably got struck first. We did because of PC culture. UK got hit the hardest because
they're still in it.
You have an entire generation of white people who are complicit because they're taught the sins of their ancestors. There were people during the Black Lives Matter protest. They said, if you're white, thank you for supporting us, but be at the back of the line. This is a black-facing movement. And if you said all lives mattered, Black Lives Matter people would get really mad with you.
Impressive.
I like Sargon. I like some stuff, but he is so boomer coded. He doesn't keep up.
Interesting.
Arch tries to tell him, and he slowly learns. But he's getting it. Now,
so let's play more of this because I see time flies.
This is why people are comparing it to Camp of the Saints, because the strategy of sending hordes of unarmed civilians to overwhelm the borders means that if they were armed, okay, it'd be legitimate to bring the army out and shoot them because they're an invading force that are going to kill.
You see, that's the common sense thing he is saying right now, but it's not done. So that goes back to what I was saying. They lost their mind. Spain has lost their mind.
People, presumably. But because they're unarmed, even if they're still invading and overwhelming the borders, it's basically playing on the kind of Christian morality of the West, saying, oh, you can't shoot an unarmed person. It's like, okay, but what about 50,000 unarmed people who are here to loot?
There are parallels with Hamas hiding out amongst their own civilians. You know, it's a similar exploitation of a stupid...
It's a bit like the old thing about fighting the last war. It's like we haven't realized we need drones. We're still buying these useless tanks in Britain.
Yeah.
And now it's all about drones. This is the new warfare, and they haven't realized it yet, or they seek, or they like it, or they haven't realized.
There's definitely a form of hybrid warfare against Spain. So there are a few options, right? When this happens, you've got some choices to make. Right now, France has decided that they're going to actually strengthen their borders against Spain because they don't want these people arriving in their country. And a lot of foreigners have already arrived in France. So, I mean, like, you know, it seems like the horse has bolted, but okay, fair enough. Now's the time to strengthen the border, I suppose. So
they'll all have mates in Marseille.
Exactly. They'll have lots of friends all over France. And then you get the response from the left, which is just tell us, well, they're just people looking for a better life. This is just some lefty online.
Ryan Krasenstein.
I'll review the name, but yeah.
No, but look, these are not. Oh, they're just.
You might say they're looking for a better life.
Well, yeah.
At whose expense? Yeah. And what does that entail?
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Maybe they're like, pillaging is probably a great life for them.
Yeah, exactly. And
you know what's another great life? Living without consequence, and this is exactly what these people are wanting. They want to live scot-free of any consequence. They don't want any forces to stop them from pillaging and attacking people. They are savage. They've proved it, and they've shown it in way too many videos I've seen in the last 2 days. They are not fit, and they shouldn't be there. They should remain in their crap hole country.
Maybe.
Sorry, what's your argument here, Brian? This is the GDP that is finally arriving in Spain? These are looters.
You could use that about any army, really, couldn't you? Other than like mercenaries, you could say, well, they invaded because they...
And again, how can you build GDP with people that steal others and that won't really get good jobs? I mean, they are there only to have these cheap labor jobs.
But
like
what if you're
wage.
going into an area that there's not enough jobs, so you're going to have instant unemployment? So you got to talk about, this was an island. I said initially had 85,000 in it, a little over 85 and a half. Do you think they have housing for about 40,000 more people?
Hell no. They don't.
There'd be in camps in the side.
They don't. They sleep in parks, I've heard. Very civilized. You sleep in parks, folks. Is that the life you wanted? Sleeping in parks? These leftists. I swear.
It's not leftist. It was like, where did these people go? They came over the border, right?
Sleeping in parks, pillaging people.
They don't have tents. Oh, let's say they maybe made tent cities. Okay. But they're not exactly, the people are not going to go remove them, do you think?
By the way, Dragon, there are tent cities in Canada, and it's widespread since Trudeau, because before Trudeau, they didn't quite exist. Now we got tents camp in cities because people cannot afford apartment, and there's the housing crisis that nobody wants to solve, except the conservative that most likely won't get to power. But hey, camps, right? Camps. So I will be right back.
Germany in the...
I let you the elm for a moment. I will be right back.
Mid-20th century, they wanted a better life. Yeah. That is what they wanted.
Yeah. We colonized India because we wanted a better life.
Yeah, exactly. You have all the resources.
Yeah. And so this is just a bunch of young men who have been given an opportunity and the sanction by their own government to invade and loot and plunder. This is what this is.
Cause trouble, lads. Off you go.
Exactly. This is why I'm letting you out of the jails, presumably. And then you get like people like Aaron Bastani who go on GB News and say this.
This has been happening for about 30 years with Quetta and Malaya. It's quite a unique situation. And I say unique because, as was mentioned there, these are issues right across Europe, including Britain.
Yes, that's the biggest problem. This has been going on for 20 years. They have a 20-year problem of an immigration policy that's broken. U.S. immigration policy is broken too. So Europe's having to realize there's a bunch of people. How do you deal with it? Fortunately, it's not going to end well. You got to radicalize your policies, and there's been far worse solutions before.
But in the case of these particular enclaves, they are in Africa. I think this is really important to say. They are on the landmass of Africa. And I would submit that if you have territory like that, this will happen. Imagine again for...
No.
I love
the way happens because we let it happen. It wouldn't happen if there were just 10 men on those walls with guns. Not one African would try and get through because you'd be shot. Right? This happens not because this city's on the landmass of Africa, Aaron, but it's because the political will of the governments of Europe is to literally give our continent over.
The problem is exact kind of what he's saying, but it's also the PC culture that says you need more migrants. You need to integrate them. There's your problem, right? You need more people. This doesn't work, okay? The problem is it's a self-defeating policy. It's like you need to solve homelessness. Oh, let's make wages greater. Oh, because you made wages greater, food goes up. Eventually, something else will cause homelessness to rise. Oh, drug use. Oh, let's try to get the drug addict off the street. Whoops. Oh, guess what? You now have people that the leftists try to get off the street. Like Mamdani in New York, dude, when it was cold and freezing, like earlier this year, right? People actually froze. One of the worst deaths outside. It's supposed to be mandatory. You wouldn't bring them inside. So, yeah, the problem is, and it's also, too, a lot of these people are going into areas where resources are thin. Basically, this island's population increased by half, almost, or a little over. Good luck to you.
I love the way he talks. This has been happening for 30 years, and he talks with great authority as though he's a great student of the history of Ceuta, and can't even spell it. He spelt it C-U-E-T-A and calls it Quetta, where there is no such place.
He's done some frantic Googling and Wikipedia like the rest of us.
I'm going to ask you, Multi. Everyone says there's a problem. How many policies have you seen implemented? We need to solve X problem. Liberals put a policy into place.
Liberals is tax more and have more invaders.
No. Here's what it is. How many times have you seen this weird policy happen? They want to fix an idea, fix a problem. They create a solution. To create a solution, they create a solution. That solution that they create causes another problem. So now you got to fix that. Oh, that's going to cause another. That's what I talk about when I talk about harm reduction, right? Because the issue is itself, after about 5 or 6 problems that they have solved, they still have the original problem, potentially. Because can you get a homeless person off the street that likes living on the street? You be honest.
Can you repeat, please? I had a glitch in the system.
Can you, if a person wants to be homeless on the street, can you get them off the street?
It depends what brought them there, but I'd say most of them you can't.
So what is the government's response to do?
Give them. Well, I'm extreme, okay, but like, give them a choice. Either you get your crap together and you become again part of society, or we give you some pills and you OD somewhere.
But here's the
I feel
thing.
like that's the only way. Like,
But here's
them.
like, you know why I asked that? Because to solve homelessness, they give cheaper shelter. What happens, like in the case of New York, it happened. Rent froze at places. What happens when they can no longer pay rent and they're forced to get out? They're homeless.
They will be back
again.
in the street again.
And no, guess what? When they have to go rent somewhere else, they realize the next place they have to rent is more expensive than where they were, because they were in rent frozen apartments. That actually happened in New York City.
I'm not surprised.
So all these policies that socialists and liberals want to create are creating further problems, and they never want to 100% solve it. I would arguably say conservatives have this problem, but they go and overcorrect it, which leads to a little bit of the opposite. It just leads to eventual rebellion. But what I've always wondered if Sargon ever gets is what I'm talking about is the policy of harm reduction. You're starting to see it. We're fixing this policy. Okay, this works. Oh, there's another problem. Let's fix it. How many programs have you seen them implement to fix something that winds up breaking something else or two things?
Always a liberal way. Break something.
Is it a lot? And then they have to solve it. So 5 policies down the line, does any of the voters ever ask, didn't you guys break this in the first place? And we're back here again?
Not in Canada.
Too many
Rapid gaslighting.
I don't buy the thing. Can we talk about the fact that it's on the African mainland?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because, as you said, Ceuta's been Spanish since the 16th century.
Yeah.
And I think Morocco only really existed in like 1940 or
way
something.
Before, yeah.
But those kind of borders, like in the days of sailing ships before motorized engines, we were much more in touch with the water than we are now. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't, the water was a natural barrier, of course, but, so the idea of England and Ireland all being part of the same place and bits of the west coast of France, it was a much more natural thing. You just cross the water in the same way you'd cross the River Thames or something. It was the same.
But moreover, we have navies, which themselves are massive force projection tools.
Absolutely. But so the idea that it's on the African mainland and that way of that divisible barrier is a product of modern maps, not which they didn't have then.
Absolutely.
So it's a completely different way of viewing the world.
It's also a very peculiar thing. So because it's on a continent, Morocco gets to. Why doesn't Algeria get it? Why doesn't Egypt get it if it's on the African continent? It's like, sorry, we don't. That's not how any kind of political organization works.
And if borders did,
it's like saying Canada should be part of the USA. It's the same idea. It's fascinating what's going on there.
Matter because it's in Africa, then why haven't we got proper walls and all the rest of it and proper policing and
how did England ever do anything wrong by annexing Wales and Scotland? Sorry, you're on the same island as us. We're taking it. It's ours now. This is not how these things work, because it's actually people that lay claim to land, not geographic entities. Mm-hmm. It's not continental shelf that works out who owns what, Aaron. But that's the point, right? The gaslighting. I don't even mind Aaron Bastani, but of course he is a leftist, and the whole point is to pour poison into your ear. So don't resist.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. This is normal.
Yeah, like I say, it can be all right in some of his comments, but it's this very strange impulse. It's like the fact checking thing, isn't it? Actually, they didn't boil them. Those kind of famous fact checks. You can sort of lie with certain pedantic facts.
Yep.
It's on the landmass of Africa, but it doesn't really tell us anything.
Just to introduce this kind of fatalistic, oh no, this is inevitable. It's inevitable that for some reason the Spanish government would just allow tens of thousands of Moroccan men to storm into your town. It's just completely
He is voicing how the elites basically feel. They seem to feel it's inevitable.
I would say Ceuta's a bit like Dover. Or if I was to compare it to an English city, it's a bit like Dover or Margate. Well, obviously Gibraltar. No, but Gibraltar's kind of... There's money in Gibraltar in the way...
That's true,
in the way that there isn't it. It's like one of those Kentish, towns that's on the front line. It feels like that.
But the way that these things are held, Aaron, is by force, just FYI, which is why we still have Gibraltar.
And that's why also people annex areas so they can assert or they can actually take control of areas. And when there's might, when there's an empire that rules, it's only logical that it controls areas. And it's just stupid people that are like, oh, it's unceded or some crap like that, or it wasn't yours in the first place. Like, what's truly to human in the first place? I think it should belong to the strongest, the one that won the war. If you won the war, you're in charge.
Do you know what's
lost,
interesting about this?
Up.
Do you know what's interesting about what you just said? Look, I'm going to propose something to you. Do you know why when Trump said we want Greenland and we want up there, Greenland and parts up there are very much because the Chinese and the Russians. Do you remember when the allegations came out Chinese were violating your guys' waters?
Yeah.
Same with the Russians.
And we didn't do anything because our government at every level is infiltrated by CPC.
No, just take this. The Danish basically control Greenland. We've had a base in Greenland for a very long time. Our claim was war acts are being committed up here and the Europeans are doing nothing. Okay. Let us have some control. We will protect the border from the Russian and the Chinese.
I like the idea, but I'm not like the other Canadians.
Because you're not asserting dominance in your area, you can likely have issues militarily. And it's hard to enforce.
Especially if China or Russia decides Greenland is theirs. They won't play by the USA rules. And
they won't play by the Greenland's rules. They won't play by the Danes. So what happened in this island? It's a territory of Spain. Yeah, they brought military in afterwards. Very aggressive with riot people. Some people are still getting through. But here's the thing. They weren't enforcing their territory. What happens when there's a rival area or power next door and a nation shows weakness in an area? What happens, Multi? They try to grab the land.
Yeah, that's logical. Why did the Canadian and why did the American took over the Americas? It's because the people there were not strong enough to hold on to these areas.
So, granted, yes, someone really thought we could actually rule Canada, but it was never going to happen back then anyways. But you're talking about territories that if you're not enforcing your authority, you lose authority. The Spaniards lost control of Mexico and the Southwest United States because they couldn't keep control of their colonies. So, guess what? In a modern era, we haven't seen this. These immigrants, Morocco's basically saying, hey, Spain, look what we can do. Right?
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with annexing. And at that point, I think, and we will play after, I think at that point, Spain deserves to fall as a lesson.
It deserves to possibly lose the island.
Yeah. I feel like now it's under African control. Give them back simply because you cannot hold on to that. You just open your borders so you can be invaded. So Give away that land.
Do you
It's not
remember what
yours anyway.
Do you remember what he was talking about earlier? 1,000 years ago, they were invaded by Spanish Moors. Eventually, the Moors were Muslim. For a period, they controlled half of Spain. Spain knows what Muslims are capable of.
And they are so stupid and gullible that they let the Muslim take over.
Right.
I think it's karma at some point. You get what you deserve, right?
They've tried to take it from us many times and failed every time.
They must be sending the army to Gibraltar. Of course he isn't, but I mean, they should really be sending. How many ships have we got? Have we even got a ship that
I
works?
think we have about 15 ships, and about half of them are in dock at the moment.
Right. Well, they should, because it's next.
Maybe send a little guy with a paddle boat or something. You know? Anyway, so this is interesting because it is part of a geopolitical issue. You'll find articles like this from the American Enterprise Institute from a senior fellow called Michael Rubin, who back in April, I think this was, March 2026, started suggesting, well, why don't the Moroccans do exactly that? Right? Spain's Pedro Sanchez should make good on his anti-colonial rhetoric and end its occupation of.
Do you know we live in an era that people just, there used to be an era, liberals, they just come out. They say what they want to do themselves. No one listens. There's a phrase. You can agree with me or disagree with me, Balti. When your enemy tells you their intent,
believe them.
I thought you were supposed to not believe them. See, you know the phrase. When the enemy tells you, believe them. This is what this man has done. Poetic.
I think Spain lost its mind. That's the big title of that stream.
This is so, because what you're seeing out, folks, is Spain has been like Germany, the rot has been the problem. They say they're dealing with their migrants. Literally, Sweden, by the way, is trying to pay their migrants actual money, more money than they'll ever see in their lives to leave. They won't take it. They are more than their wages. Just get out. And it's going, but they won't take it. And it's one of those things Europe is trying to grasp only until it's too late how to deal with their money. Spain is a lesson. The problem is America is learning it, and I'm going to be curious if it impacts the Democrats with open borders.
I think even some of the moderate, like, I'm not speaking about the people for open border, but I think some of the moderate that may not have liked what Trump did and that may have drove toward the Democrat. I think with Spain right now happening, if some of these moderate hear about that, I got the feeling that they will be like, you know what, either I'm not voting or I vote anything but the Democrat, because...
Do you know what? I'll say this is interesting. In America, do you remember I said the poll about would you vote for a Republican wanting freedom of speech and capitalism, and then and then socialism? It was like 36%, 16% don't know. Do you know what the other question was asked? Would you vote? Here's what they said. A majority of Americans said we should deal with Iran once and for all. Same with it. Should we have voter ID? 62, literally a majority at like 64% of Americans, something like that, said we need to have voter ID. Democrats will say voter ID is racist, right?
So just because of that, some people may just end up going Republican.
Because here's the trick. Voter ID guarantees secure elections. Would you allow voter ID for secure elections? 60% said they want voter ID.
But you know what? That reminds me of the kind of stuff in Canada we would get. Like, this is something heavily supported. But you know what would happen? They would attach digital ID with that new law about protecting our election. This is like the Canadian mindset. Like you give a good veneer, a good pitch, and you sell your idea to people, and then you add like surveillance state and like restriction of rights and that kind of BS. Like it's Canada. It's just like that. So like be aware and be cautious about what your folks down there suggest.
Well, here's the thing. It's not like it. Because, you know, all Trump's been trying to do, because little do you people know, we're still in a government shutdown.
Wow.
The odd part is we just have stuff still funded. The funny thing is, the Save America Act, all it is asking for secure elections and voter ID. Radical, I know. So, you remember that one I showed you with all of the thing?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, in Europe, they're like, hey, see, and one thing I said for a while, Europe had the right policy for it at one point. You bring them in, the migrants can work in your country, but they are second-class citizens. They can earn citizenship, but they are second-class citizens. Right?
Yeah.
That's not a controversial policy. But
Yeah.
taken to an extreme, it's just going to lead to open borders eventually because if it's a slippery cliff. The issue is you have a maintained system of regulation. The problem is liberals are like, oh, we're just going to take all these people in. Europe, after the migrant crisis in Syria, just took them in. That's what led to Brexit. Ironically enough, parts of the UK are becoming a brown nation. Europe is slowly been invaded, and it is a legit invasion and the takeover. It's to the point that, I mean, it took a while for Sargon to notice. Everyone was like saying, Europe, do not be careful with these migrants. Oh, Germany knows there's an issue. Literally, someone just, when the moment they got into Germany, someone pulled out a machete and goes, Allah Akbar, stab. It was just so bad, the media stopped reporting about it. You remember the story about the peaceful man who wanted to correct his wife, drove his car into it to commit an honor killing? No, that's not what they called it. They just said it was a man with mental issues.
It's crazy, and I
It's fine.
think I think it's that all the things we said in the last few minutes may impact the USA midterm, as you said, and that might be very interesting to look at. So let's play more of this.
Africa. Yeah, good point. Why not? Why not? If we're a bunch of leftists, why don't we do that? And actually, what's Mr. Sanchez going to say? He is a leftist. King Mohammed VI built upon his green legacy with his stewardship of the Sahara. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Morocco is a colonial state too. Right, Morocco currently occupies a large part of the Western Sahara.
Yep.
And apparently they've done just great there, which is what the American Enterprise Institute is arguing. And therefore, Spain, a colonial state, should give up this territory to another colonial state. That's a weird thing to start arguing, isn't it? Spain's socialist prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, embraced...
By the way, wars have been fought over for less. You know, Falklands, Argentina thought they owned the Falklands. You know what the British did? Came in there and took warships and bombed the shit out of them. Hey, you know, but then again, details. This man literally is telling what people should do.
In the language of decolonization, Mohammed VI should reclaim the spirit of the Green March to finalize the expulsion of Spanish colonists from Moroccan soil. Are they Spanish colonists, though, if they've been there since 1580? Is that, do you call them Spanish colonists at that point?
Okay, here's something funny. I don't know if Multi knows this. there's this thing. When Hitler took the Sudetenland and Neville Chamberlain was like, we want peace. We don't want another war. He took the Sudetenland under the fact they were German citizens. Yeah, they had separated, but there's actual Germans living there. So we have the right to annex the Sudetenlands. Neville Chamberlain encouraged European powers to give it to them.
Not surprised. So let's see more of that.
600 years?
Yeah, it's like 400 plus years.
Sorry.
Yeah, is there a threshold? Do we call Americans American colonists?
I'm going to ask you this, Multi. Do you believe when you've had generations raised under another person's rule, do you think you have a legitimate right to control that nation or area?
That's hard to say. Can you repeat your question?
Okay. The claim is by this guy. The Moroccans should exercise their claim over the island, right? Because they have colonists in lineage there. And does that give Morocco a legit claim to take it?
I don't think so.
Why?
They didn't win that territory.
It's been under Spain for 400 years.
But I will say this. With what's going on right now, Spain deserves to lose it. Well, not for the same reason that you mentioned, but like
forget what I'm saying, right?
If they don't want borders, just give back that area.
No, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The right to rule an area is
you earn it through blood.
Or you earn it through control.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like they've been there since about 1600, right? But they've been in there for longer. So do we call them colonists?
Well, some people do call Americans colonists.
Yeah.
These kind of people.
Yeah, I don't think we do call them colonists, right? But anyway, he says, quote, Moroccans should gather, send bulldozers to the border, then enter Ceuta and Melilla unarmed to raise the flag. Sanchez and the Spanish press bleat, but they have no grounds to act, nor, for that matter, would NATO, even if Moroccan forces entered the towns to restore order and organize the dispatch of settlers across the Strait of Gibraltar and back to Spain. So this has been argued for by the American. That's interesting. Then you've got like the UN response, which is, well, you have to preserve the rights and dignity of those who arrive in Ceuta amid the migration crisis. While Spain and Morocco strengthen coordination. So it's all become a bit of a fait accompli now. It's like, no, the Spanish there have got to be evicted from their homes. Sure, they've been there for more than about 450 years almost. But suddenly they have no right to that. I mean, if a guy breaks into your house and squats for a long enough period of time, he gets a right to your house. But if you've been there for 400 plus years, you've got no right whatsoever. Only if you're European, though. Right, the Moroccans have got every right to the Western Sahara, even though the people of the Western Sahara don't want the Moroccans there, and it's actually termed an illegal occupation. But hey, thank you, Mr. Guterres. Then you've got the UN, Israel's UN ambassador, who points out, wow, Spain never missed an opportunity to lecture Israel, has declared a state of emergency in Ceuta, sorry, I should pronounce it, following the crisis over its immigration policy. Maybe before it continues lecturing us, it's time it explained to the world why it still maintains colonial enclaves in Africa. I'm not even sure if you want to start pulling that string, my friend, because they all think that Israel is a colonial occupation of Palestine. So are you sure that's wise?
It was also false, wasn't it? They haven't declared a state of emergency.
No, they haven't.
The note helpfully points out.
Because they're communists and they don't see immigration as an issue. And then this is the same guy who suggested that the West should take in Gaza refugees, by the way. All those refugees that Israel's creating in Gaza, you need to take them. Europe.
So they can.
Anyway, then you've got Netanyahu and his son who have been threatening Spain for a long time. You've got Netanyahu's son here. You can see, dear Arabs and Muslims, want to free occupied Arab Islamic lands? Here's a good start. And he posts a picture of Ceuta and Melilla, however that's pronounced. And then you've got a video here of Netanyahu literally saying Spain has repeatedly diplomatically opposed Israel, and this won't be tolerated. It will pay an immediate price. Oh, that's very interesting.
The fact that it's happened in Ceuta and Melilla is even more of a sort of indication about how planned this was.
Absolutely. This is something that has been written about extensively, actually. Here's an Israeli talking about it. The pieces have been assembling for months. In March 2026, Michael Rubin of the American Enterprise Institute, writing through the Middle Eastern Forum, called on the Trump administration, that was the chat we saw previously, to formally recognize Ceuta and Melilla as occupied Moroccan territory, branding Spain a colonial power running...
You know what? What I want now? Trump increase your tariff on Spain and tell them, get your act together or we will decimate you. Use that lever, Trump. You started that, finish it now.
colonies across the Strait of Gibraltar. Yeah, but everyone involved in this is a colonial power. Israel is currently expanding its territory in the Middle East.
Look, and this is about where I'm about to say Sargon goes a little off the rails. He believes in a little bit of the problem of the, politely put, the JQ problem, okay? One thing you're going to notice, and this has always annoyed me about Sargon. Sargon is one of those people, he's a very proud member of the UK. He has often said...
How can you be proud of such a terrible country?
I don't know. He has a pride in the history. The thing
Maybe
about
the history, but I mean, where
the
are you
problem,
at right now matters.
The problem now is he will go hard after Trump, but he grudgingly respects Trump, but he will go after Trump and slit his throat. The other problem is he has a very bad hard-on for how Israel, he actually thinks Israel has a bigger leverage in the world versus we control Israel and we only support Israel because it's the only democracy in the Middle East. So there's a little bit of a problem. This is what I talk about. A little bit of anti-Semitism that ran around. But the JQ problem with Sargon is really bad because he likes to say the Zionists of Israel control the world. So you can understand. Man's very good.
America has a bunch of, like, Puerto Rico and Guam and all that. It's got its own colonial territory.
Greenland.
And Morocco has the Western Sahara. Like, everyone involved in this is a colonial power. So you're just pointing the finger at one another. It's like, what are you doing? Anyway, the Abraham Accords transformed Morocco from a quiet interlocutor with Israel into a formal military partner. In January 2026, Israel and Morocco signed a joint military work plan for the year during the third meeting of their joint military committee in Tel Aviv, which the IDF described as deepening cooperation with a key partner for regional stability. Well, why do they need this regional stability? Well, he says, for Israel, amplifying Morocco's claim is not charity. It is a strategic investment in the partner across the Strait of Gibraltar, holds the key to one of the world's most vital maritime choke points. Why is that? Because Sanchez is a die-hard supporter of the Palestinian cause. Sanchez and his government have been willing to speak with clarity conspicuously absent from many of Spain's Western allies. Spain recognized the state of Palestine. Sanchez has openly used the word genocide to describe what is being done in Gaza, and his government has moved to entrench an arms embargo against Israel. So the Spanish, who control the waters around the Gaza Strait, the Gibraltar Strait of Gibraltar, have been preventing arms going to Israel for political reasons, and Israel would like that strait opened.
Gaza was on our mind when we watched Celebrate and Spain's triumph in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I saw that game. I can tell you the last thing I was thinking about was Gaza. I was just thinking about how dirty the Argentinians were. But anyway...
I don't know why everyone's shocked about that, though.
Yeah.
It's like, the Argentinians are playing dirty. Well, yes, their name is Argentina. Anyway, sorry, go on.
I think the geopolitical significance of the fact that Spain controls access to the Mediterranean is enormous. And, because...
Deep failing on Britain's part, frankly.
Well,
we should control that.
Well, we had it at one point.
I know.
And again, water was how you traveled distance back in the day. That it was much quicker over water than it was over land. And
still today, it's still very fast. So
So there is a historical relationship between Spain and the west coast of Spain and southern Spain and, you know, Cornwall and Ireland and those kind of places. There's just a natural migration there. But anyway, all I was going to say is it's just going to create another Strait of Hormuz issue. Yes. I mean, it's really serious.
Yeah, but the problem that the Spanish have is that they're not nearly as sort of entrenched as the Iranians have. The Iranians have been preparing for this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish haven't been preparing for this at all.
Well, Morocco might have been.
Well, yeah, Morocco may well have been. Yeah,
but Spain was asleep at the wheel.
Which is
part of its plan.
And it's very clear that Israel has been strengthening its ties with Morocco militarily and diplomatically in order to essentially leverage this open. Because if now Spain loses control of Ceuta, well, then Spain doesn't control the waters in the Straits of Gibraltar, and Israel can get its weapons.
I mean, where does America stand on that? Because obviously
America supports Israel in this.
But then you have people like Trump talking about the disgrace of what's happening in Spain. So how do they square that? Obviously, Trump doesn't want that.
Trump doesn't want Morocco controlling the Straits of Hormuz.
They weren't ready. They weren't ready to get so many people. But why did you pause, Dragon?
Sorry, do you see where sorry, I know it's muted. You see where I said he has a little bit of the anti-Trump bias and thinks Israel controls the world?
Yeah.
The problem is it's a complicated relationship. Spain is basically a very socialistic nation that causes a lot of headaches for Europe. Because of their policies, they're starting to set a trend for the rest of Europe. Trump sees it as very disgraceful as he sees in his vision. Spain is letting itself be trampled upon. Now, he thinks because, if Morocco seizes the territory, Israel will get weapons to continue its war. Okay, so what? Europe hasn't lifted a finger to stop Ukraine and Russia. That's starting to spill outwards. I'm tired of hearing it. There's one attitude I get tired of. You can eventually, this is where Sargon starts to lose me. Because you could say it, like, yes, Trump doesn't respect weak leaders. Leaders that let themselves get weakened. Basically, he said, you weren't ready for the migrants coming in. You should have known it's happening. You should have had a plan. That's when they took their military that looks like a second-rate military with Humvees down to the park. Okay? They took it down to the beach. But hey, what do I know? Right?
Straits of Gibraltar.
Sorry.
He probably doesn't want that either. But that's true. But he ideologically is very opposed to the current Spanish government. And so he...
And to this kind of migration in general into Europe and the West.
Sure, but he tweeted, in fact, that Spain needs their own Trump, basically, in order to allow Israel to get the weapons.
Yeah. I've got two things I wanted to say, if I may. The first is, like, when you were talking about that, I was like, why is Israel allied with Morocco? You know, Morocco's Islamic and Israel's Jewish, and Islam and Judaism don't get on. And, you know, religion. And then I thought, you know, I've always said that the state in the UK replaced Christianity.
Yes.
You know, now we worship the NHS instead of, you know, and the state.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. This is where you buckle in. I don't mind Sargon's crew, but it's a little weird. Basically, they're going to introduce the idea that liberals replace God with the state. The problem is the moment you go down. So they have this tendency to believe the worst about the US, but then again, Sargon's crew took the opposite end. Yeah, his Hamas is bad, but so is Israel and how its demands are. The irony is, because we back Israel, if we didn't, they would be been destroyed in the modern times. It's just the way stuff is. We back it because it's only democracy over there. Now, are they proverbial shitheads? Yes, they are. Are they a pain in our asses? Yes, they are. The problem is Israel doesn't always gets what it wants. We just let them prosecute the war right now. Because like with Iran, they set a provision if Israel attacked Lebanon, intentionally dividing Lebanon. I mean, Israel from the rest of the world. That clause went into effect because we signed a peace treaty. They then attacked Lebanon, and Iran could nullify the agreement. Back to war we go. So you're talking about, yes, the Iranians know how to play the long game. But here's the other thing. Has anyone ever heard the philosophy of enemy of thy enemy is thy friend? That's what Israel likes to policy. So,
And it's what a lot of very smart faction think.
Because you get what I'm saying. They're saying that it's because here's the thing. It's not like we don't back Israel and know they're idiots. The most abusive organizations next to the Saudi intelligence as far as in war on terror goes. They are just the thing is, why would Israel work with Morocco? Because they view Morocco as good Muslims, peaceful Muslims. They're not Islamists like they deal with. Because why does Hamas align itself with Iran? Iran aligns itself with the Houthis, which attack Saudi Arabia. You get my drift, right? It's enemy of thy enemy is thy friend. And a little bit.
So I guess now we can play the
state provided education,
go
did
bang
all
a
the
pot
things,
outside.
did all the things that the church.
Oh, he's getting into the part where liberalism, see, conservatives' powers disappear in multi. We replace the state. Liberals replace the state as the core ideal in place of religion. That's what they're about to bring up.
That's interesting.
It is a key because a lot of people don't realize it. The government, the state becomes the central. And it's a core tenement in socialism as well as communism.
Church used to do. And of course, what are these, and one point of king and God and wherever, there was a lot of crossover between the various things. So communism is just another belief system.
Yes.
And of course it is, but it's a religion. And so, I guess Israel's looking at that going, well, we prefer Islam, Moroccan Islam, to communism. Maybe, it's
Moroccan Islam is not going to stop the flow of weapons to Israel.
No. Right? Exactly, but
Spanish communism is.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, it's much more basic than that. But I think I'm talking more generally. Is you need to look at the world not just through the prism of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. You also have to look through the world through the prism of communism, authoritarianism, free marketism, whatever. They're on the same level, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, just to hurry this up a bit then.
Sorry.
So it's all right. So you get people like Forbes, who just sat there and go, well, I mean, I can't explain why there's this sudden 50,000 Moroccan men who arrived at Ceuta and have just broken in. It's just impossible to imagine why this happened. But they think, well, I mean, it's unclear, but maybe it's because of the naturalization of 500,000 undocumented immigrants in Spain. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they did do that, but that doesn't explain why 50,000 turn up on one day and are bussed in on trucks and walk all that way on that one day. This would be a long, slow, or like not necessarily slow, but a long, drawn-out influx it wouldn't be an army arrives on that day. Come on. And, you've got like your Daily Signal being like, well, this is a predictable result of the Spanish amnesty, as if this is an organic phenomenon. It's like, no, I don't think this is an organic phenomenon.
Right. Now, that incentivizes them, but it wouldn't explain the level of organization.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, just finish off. So the Spanish president has at least taken this seriously, even if he's not going to declare a state of emergency. The government of Spain, he says, is fully committed to providing an immediate response to the situation in Ceuta. I assume he's just going to give them citizenship.
I must say that joke. It's a European country. Therefore, their course of action will be to limit free speech and to jail critics. This is exactly how they will proceed with that emergency. So let's continue now.
Then there's no immigrant invasion, is there? No, they're all citizens. We are mobilizing all necessary resources, presumably the rubber stamps to give them visas, working with Moroccan and international authorities, the enemy, and preparing necessary measures to restore normalcy as soon as possible.
What is normalcy now? Is he taking it back to the 90s?
It's impossible.
What's he going to restore?
I don't know.
Sounding a bit Rupert Lowe.
He has pledged to protect Ceuta. The government will use all of the state's resources and tools to guarantee the safety of Ceuta's citizens. Okay, and they've also pledged a total and unequivocal commitment to Ceuta and its future, which is interesting because it puts the communist, decolonialist president of Spain in the position where he now has to defend his own colonialist properties and holdings. So, okay, that's interesting. They will actually be sending troops and police to Ceuta, which would have been more useful in advance. Should have been there before the invasion.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, what's interesting about the Guardian reporting on this one, just to finish this off, is that they're like, yeah, most appeared to be young men. Yeah, did they? Did they appear to be?
But that's how bad it is. The BBC's admitting it's 49,000. The Guardian's admitting there's some men there.
Yeah. But they did find a family with women and children because one found a freelance photographer working for the Associated Press.
That's impressive. Out of 49,000, find me the one woman.
I honestly, I think there's a plan. I think they just were like, right, okay, get...
Do you see the report from, it was some sort of Spanish station, they were going, there's loads of women and children here. It was in Spanish, but apparently that's what they were saying in the camera, just flat out lying.
Then show us.
While these men, literally then a man comes up and takes over the camera like a young man. It's hilarious.
But, someone on the ground says, the situation is absolute chaos. It's not possible to give precise numbers, but there are thousands of migrants crossing. The border has totally collapsed. So there we go. So, best of luck to the people in Ceuta.
Can I?
Amazing. Look, Spain has lost its mind. So I guess this is the outro because something came up and it's also very late. So
well, see, they showed the footage, but I'll say this: the interesting part about this whole debacle is Spain is basically it's dug itself a hole, hasn't it, Multi?
Yeah.
Liberal policies, because you can't be decolonialists and want to defend a colony. Am I wrong?
That's not possible.
Are we talking the historical conundrum here of
deport everyone, have a war over that area, and then let whoever takes that spot live there?
See, the interesting part about this is, right, it's like Europe doesn't know what to do because
of course they don't. They're a bunch of libtards.
I will say this. I believe if anything, I want the Ukraine and Russia situation solved. It has revealed so much about Europe. They don't want power. It's eventually all these refugee crises that have been created over the years have come home to roost too. The combination of Russia and Ukraine, they don't know how to stand up for themselves. Basically, it's not that Trump has washed his hands of Russia and Ukraine. There's just never going to be a peace treaty. And all the stuff spills out. Because you got to understand, what you're seeing now is Eastern Europe is being besieged by the migrants coming through Belarus. But Poland has a wall.
They're probably the last one standing for common sense.
Greece has a wall. Greece has a policy. That's
They
where
still exist. Wow.
like you're talking a lot of people, but some people just act like, well, we'll see if this works, right? But no, this issue isn't getting better because this example is just policy that's falling apart.
By
So
the way, what we just did, we took an hour of content and we turned it into 3 hours and almost 30 minutes. So it is transformative. Anyway, what do you have going
who says
on
it's
your
not
end of the
transform?
internet?
It is transformative. But no, it is the key. I'm continuing my Genshin series. I'm going to be at 6.2 tomorrow evening. On the I'm working be working in a chapter a day until I'm done. We got 10 days, and on the 12th, 7.0 comes out. On the 4th, I have Beast of Reincarnation is the new game. So.
Interesting. So on my end of the internet, I don't know exactly which day, but 1 or 2 days this week, I don't know yet. I may end up doing a Resident Evil 0 stream. Unfortunately, this week other things happened. I didn't get the chance. With that being said, Monday or Wednesday, which day do you Monday or Thursday, sorry about that. Monday or Thursday, which day do you prefer, Dragon, for a reaction stream?
Whatever day is better. It's
Okay,
fine.
so Monday we shall have a reaction stream, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Look for something that's under 2 hours. So like because
Would you
that's
be
all.
willing? Would you be? Do you want to review the Caped Crusader, or are you out?
I'm out.
Not your type.
But yeah. So again, Monday we react to things, 5 p.m. Eastern time. I trust you. I only have 2 hours, so I'd rather
Okay.
have like something 15-minute, maybe 20 to 30.
Oh, I'll get
but-
something good for sure. It's all good.
So that's 2 hours on Monday evening. Tuesday, Spider-Man, a brand new day review. I did love the movie a lot, and I have no idea if people liked it or not. I know Eric's debunk had a divided opinion on it, and that surprises me because I loved it. Maybe
I
I'm
think
crazy.
I'll be honest about it. There's some stuff in there. I discussed it with a friend. There's something, and I know you know what it is. It shouldn't be there because there's several plots. It could have been a lot better because the person who's the villain shouldn't be the villain. But I applaud it for its creativity. But
I
it
loved
is.
it as well. So we don't spoil it tonight. Tuesday
know.
we shall spoil it. And again, I love that movie. That might be a very hot take, but it is my favorite superhero movie among all. I adore it.
It is the best superhero movie to come out.
It's my favorite. It beats all of them. Like, and again, that's why I have no idea what our people thoughts.
I'll have to go look see what Eric said.
I really loved it. I need to write down my review on Letterboxd. It's not done yet. I didn't get the chance or the time, but I will do that as soon as I can. I'm very excited to talk about A Brand New Day because it is very good and it's one of my favorite movies this year.
It's one of the last films we get, I think, before Doomsday because Doomsday is supposed to be a cluster.
We got Clayface in October, but that's DC. Anyway, I am multi-topic talk. I will talk to all of you later. Review, gaming, reaction. This is what we do mostly on this channel. And again, Monday we do a reaction. Tuesday we talk. Brand new day. And the rest of the week, if I get the chance, I may finish Resident Evil 0 if I'm good enough. With that being said, thank you for watching. Have a great one and take care.